Chapter 1145. A month passed quickly, and the quota of 3 million was decided. Fallen Dust Sword Sect had 100,000, Dragon God Celestial Palace had 100,000, Murong family had 50,000, and Mysterious Sect had 100,000. There were too many life and death kings in true spirit world, and each of them had their own families and sections. On average, some king families and sects could only bring 1 or 2,000 people out of true spirit world, and the most was 20,000. Of course, this was the first time. Once Fallen Dust Sword Sect developed in the future, organizing a huge fleet wouldn't be a problem. After all, a large-scale king-grade warship only cost 30 to 40,000 yuan stones. 10,000 of them would only cost 3 to 400 million, and 10,000 of them would be enough to organize 3 large fleets. Among the 100,000 people of Fallen Dust Sword Sect, 15,000 were the core strength of the sect. The lowest cultivation base was Astral Reaching Realm, while the highest was Life and Death Realm. Dragon God Celestial Palace and Fallen Dust Sword Sect were similar, and so was Mysterious Sect. Adding Murong family, the core strength of the 4 powers reached 55,000, and the rest were basically family members. On the Phantom, the luxurious hall was packed with people. As a small Emperor-class warship, the Phantom could only carry about 500 people. Any more and it would be too crowded. The Phantom's hall could only hold about 100 people at most. The interior of the Phantom was not only beautiful, but also luxurious. Just extreme-grade wines alone, he had collected more than 100 kinds, and extreme-grade fruits, 40 kinds. In addition, he had also collected a lot of high-grade image recording crystals, which could record real images, such as the movements of beauties and battles between powerful warriors. The higher the grade, the longer the recording time, and the clearer the images would be. This way, everyone could drink and eat fruits while watching the images. The journey wouldn't be so boring. This kind of life is truly enjoyable. Yi Xian sighed in admiration. Yi Xiaoxiao rolled her eyes. You only know how to enjoy life. On the Phantom were all people close to Yi Chen, such as the direct descendants of Yi family and the upper echelons of Fallen Dust Sword Sect, Murong Qingqing and the direct descendants of Murong family, Su Jing and the upper echelons of Dragon God Celestial Palace, Xianhou, Yan Qingxian, Yan Fengfeng, and other upper echelons of Mysterious Sect. Of course, there were also the 6,000 Arrow King. Isn't life about enjoyment? Without enjoyment, who would be willing to struggle? Yi Xian refuted his sister. Yi Tianhao laughed and scolded. You think you're right? Wait until you become a life and death king, then it won't be too late. A family without a life and death king was bound to be unable to develop for a long time. Yi family only had one Yi Chen, and it would be even better if they could have one more. However, Yi Tianhao was not in a hurry. He believed that under Yi Chen's lead, the Fallen Dust Sword Sect and Yi family would have more and more life and death kings. Moreover, with Yi Xian's talent, even if he could not become a life and death king now, he would become one in the future. Sigh, I don't know when it will be. Yi Xian also wanted to become a life and death king. Unfortunately, with his talent, becoming a life and death king within 100 years would already be quite good. He would most likely be more than 100 years old, and by then, he would already look like a middle-aged man. After all, Sea of Souls realm warriors could only live for 300 years, and 100 years was equivalent to half of their lifespan. Don't worry. With your big brother here, even if you have no hope of entering life and death realm, there will still be hope. After a month of interaction, Myriad Arrow King's group of 6 had become familiar with Yi Chen's family. The one who spoke was Lu Di. Lu Wenjie nodded, right? The universe is boundless, and some secret realms have a kind of life and death fruit. This fruit can help Sea of Souls realm warriors break through to life and death realm. Life and death fruit was extremely famous. The family members of powerful warriors were not necessarily all geniuses. If one didn't want their family to die before them, They could buy a life and death fruit to extend their family's lifespan to 100,000 years. Unfortunately, life and death fruit was priceless. Once one appeared, it would be immediately snatched away. Hiring a group of adventurer kings to search for life and death fruit would be more practical. At worst, he would just have to pay a bit more. Yi Chen glanced at Yi Xian and said, "Everything depends on oneself. Life and death fruit is not the best choice. After taking a life and death fruit, one's life would be no big deal. At most, one's lifespan would be a bit longer." In Yi Chen's opinion, Yi Xian and Yi Xiaoxiao were completely capable of breaking through to life and death realm. Taking a life and death fruit would be putting the cart before the horse. In the future, they would certainly regret it. Rather than regret it in the future, it was better to work hard now. As for his father and mother, Yi Chen indeed planned to give them 2 life and death fruit. How could he bear to see his parents grow old day by day and eventually return to dust? Of course, life and death fruit was not that easy to obtain. It depended on luck. In this world, if 100 people wanted a life and death fruit, only 1 or 2 could obtain one. So powerful! On the opposite wall of the hall, a recording crystal was broadcasting a battle. Both sides were titled monarchs. One was called Misthorn Emperor, and the other was Great Blade Emperor. Misthorn Emperor was a titled monarch of the Greenman race, and Great Blade Emperor was a titled monarch of the human race. The battle between the two was extremely intense, and the spectators were mesmerized by it. Yi Chen, who won in the end? Murong Qingqing asked. Yi Chen drank a mouthful of wine and said, "Guess. It should be Great Blade Emperor, although he's currently at a disadvantage." Su Jing guessed. Yi Chen nodded and said, "Right. Great Blade Emperor is very famous among titled monarchs. His specialty is very obvious. Either he doesn't use his full strength, or when he does, it will be a fatal blow." Just as Yi Chen's voice faded, Great Blade Emperor chopped off Misthorn Emperor's head. Misthorn Emperor couldn't even make a comeback, and died in a short while. This kind of recording crystal was very popular in the universe, and its price was extremely high. Yi Chen had collected more than 100 of them with great difficulty. At first, everyone was a bit curious about the life on Phantom. But as time passed, everyone got used to it, and they would only go to the hall for entertainment once every 10 days to half a month. Yi Chen, Murong Qingqing, and Su Jing lived in the most spacious room on Phantom. This room was about 7 meters wide and 15 meters long, and there was a bathing pool several meters wide. Opposite the bathing pool was a transparent crystal. Through the crystal, one could see the scenery outside. However, since they were currently traveling through space, there was nothing to see. In the bathing pool, Yi Chen was bathing alone. As for Su Jing and Murong Qingqing, they were both cultivating. They were almost 50 years old, and the God Trial Field would open again the year after next. They planned to break through to the 4th layer before then. Only then would they have a chance to enter the top 10 of the Heavenly King list and enter the God Paradise. Otherwise, their progress would undoubtedly be much slower than the members of the Paradise. Fortunately, the two's foundation was very stable. Not to mention the year after next, they might break through to the 4th layer this year. As for their martial skills, they were both very high ranked. Desolate Star had given them an opportunity to advance by leaps and bounds. This was their advantage, and also the key to entering the top 10 of the Heavenly King list. In the luxurious room next door, Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing were hugging each other as they lay on the soft bed. "I really didn't expect that we would have such a day. This is simply a godlike life," Yi Tianhao said with great satisfaction. Shen Yuqing hugged her husband's neck and smiled. "Yeah, without Chen, our Yi family would only be one of the 8 great families of Windy Nation. South Rudra region would be nothing, not to mention the entire Elysium of True Spirit continent. Right now, we wouldn't be living on the priceless Emperor-grade battleship and heading to the center of the human race. Although Thousand Arrow King and the other 5 were on the Phantom, they had also contributed their Heavenly King-grade battleship. In a room on Zhang Yinin's small Heavenly King-grade battleship, a familiar woman was living there. It was Ji Shuiyan. Ji Shuiyan was a bit at a loss. She was very surprised that she could leave Elysium. Not only her, but her Ji family also had a quota of 1,000 people. Although she didn't know the specific reason, it was definitely related to the Yi family. Yi Chen's mother and her mother had been like sisters for a long time. Later on, because of her marriage with Yi Chen, their relationship had become somewhat weaker, and they rarely visited each other. However, Shen Yuqing hadn't forgotten about the Ji family. After all, it was a matter of many years ago. With her status as Yi Chen's mother, it would be easy for her to get a quota of 1,000 people. Of course, Yi Chen was also aware of this. Days passed, and the Phantom got closer and closer to Vermilion Bird Starfield. Chapter 1146. Churner, tell us about Flame Star. What's the difference between the cities there and Elysium cities? As they approached Vermilion Bird Star region, Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing were somewhat apprehensive. They were afraid that they wouldn't be able to properly manage Flame Flower City. After all, Vermilion Bird Star region was not Elysium. Any life star here had tens of thousands of life and death kings. Flame Star was a third-grade life star, so there were bound to be a lot of life and death kings. Pouring wine for his parents, Yi Chen said, "Father, Mother, it's actually not as complicated as you think. The cities on life stars admittedly have a lot of life and death kings, but compared to Elysium, they are much more orderly. Firstly, the city masters are basically titled monarchs or have the strength of titled monarch. If they want to cause trouble, the consequences will be very severe. Secondly, the cities on life stars are covered with countless restrictive arrays. Using force inside is very restricted, and once the energy ripples reach a certain level, the city master's mansion will immediately sense it. Thirdly, there are city guards inside the cities. As one of the main cities of Flame Star, Flame Flower City has millions of city guards, and the middle and high-ranking officers are all life and death kings. If there's anything troublesome, just leave it to them. You can also put it aside temporarily and wait for my return." Hearing Yi Chen's words, Yi Tianhao faintly nodded. There seemed to be no problem indeed. He then asked, "Chiner, can Flame Flower City really earn millions of yuan stones a year?" He was already very clear about the value of yuan stones. 1 yuan stone was equivalent to more than 10,000 supreme-grade spirit stones. A few million a year was simply an astronomical figure. This was simply unimaginable to him in the past. Yi Chen laughed. "It will only be more, not less. In the universe, the gap between the rich and the poor was huge. The majority of families and sects could only belong to the middle class. Families with cities were the upper class. Once one entered the upper class, as long as nothing unexpected happened, the family would undoubtedly become more and more powerful and prosper for 100,000 years or even longer. On the other hand, the middle-class families and sects might decline after 10 or 20,000 years. One batch would fall and another batch would rise and so on. A few million in 1 year, a few 100 million in 100 years. My Yi family and the Falling Dust Sword sect will certainly become more and more glorious. The number of life and death kings will surpass 100 in no time. No matter who it was, they all needed resources to cultivate. Even Yi Chen had consumed a huge amount of resources since he rose to power. It could be said that whoever had more resources would have more experts in the future. This was a positive development. Of course, there was also a difference in the quality of experts. Only those with high talent and comprehension could walk ahead of everyone else. Currently, the Yi family only had one life and death king, Yi Chen. The Falling Dust Sword sect, including the Yi family, had 6 life and death kings: Yi Chen, Yi Chen's 4 disciples, and Zhang Haoren. In Elysium, the Fallen Dust Sword sect was already one of the top sections. But, in the universe, it was still too immature. They needed enough life and death kings. After all, a single person's energy was limited, and they couldn't do everything by themselves. Master, with my strength, how far do you think I need to enter the Sky King list? Ling Xinghan suddenly asked Yi Chen. Yi Chen turned his head to look at Ling Xinghan. No rush. With your current strength, it's still too difficult. Wait until this god trial is over, and the next one, you'll definitely be able to do it. How could he not know Ling Xinghan's thoughts? But, for Ling Xinghan, it was still too early. He was only at the second sky of life and death realm. Even if he could reach the third sky in a year or two, his strength would still be far behind Duguju Chuzhongtian and the rest. Even Duguju Chuzhongtian and the rest had to work hard, not to mention him. The next one? Ling Xinghan lowered his head. Yi Chen frowned and said, Xinghan, being impetuous is a big taboo. Advancing bravely is a good thing, but it doesn't mean you can ignore your foundation. Only with a good foundation will you be able to charge forward fiercely in the future. Sharpening a knife will not delay the work of cutting firewood. You should understand this logic. Participating in the God trial was open to anyone below the age of 50, including Ling Xinghan. However, Yi Chen was sure that Ling Xinghan would not be able to participate in the first round of the trial. On the God Star, he would be crushed by the powerful gravity. There was no need for him to participate at all. Junior brother, you are already very powerful. We have just arrived, so it's more important for us to experience the life here first. Dongfang Bai was a bit more mature than Ling Xinghan, as he said. Among the four great disciples, although Ling Xinghan was the most talented and had the greatest achievements so far, it did not mean that Ling Xinghan would have the greatest achievements in the future. Dongfang Bai's temperament was the steadiest, and he was indifferent to both praise and humiliation. In this aspect, he was stronger than Ling Xinghan. The path of the sword was filled with trials and tribulations. Not only did it test one's talent and comprehension, but it also tested one's temperament. If one's temperament was not up to standard, one would take many detours in the future. In Yi Chen's heart, Dongfang Bai was the most promising. Ling Xinghan was slightly lacking. Of course, this was only temporary. Perhaps in the future, Ling Xinghan would truly mature. An Emperor-class warship was 9 times faster than a King-class warship, and 3 times faster than a Heavenly Monarch warship. For months passed after departing from Elysium. Phantom and Dijiang Hao finally arrived at the Vermilion Bird starfield. Another week passed, and they arrived at Flame Star. We're here. Phantom and Dijiang Hao appeared from the void, entered Flame Star's atmosphere, and flew toward Flame Flower City. The powerful atmospheric resistance caused the 2 warships' speed to decrease sharply, and their scarlet tails were incomparably dazzling. The warships slowly stopped at the City Lord's Manor's welcoming plaza, and everyone walked out. This is Flame Flower City's City Lord's Manor? Yi Xian and Yi Xiaoxiao looked around curiously. So many array formations and restrictions. Zhang Haoran sensed the fluctuations of the array formations and restrictions. He was certain that even if he went all out, he would not be able to cause too much damage to the City Lord's Manor. There were countless array formations and restrictions here. Some were large and some were small. They were connected to each other, and the slightest change would affect the rest. They were extremely intricate. City Lord. The Rose King walked out of the hall. Rose King, you've worked hard during this period, Yi Chen said. The Rose King said, Don't mention it. It's my duty. Let me introduce you. These are my father and mother. In the future, my father will be managing Flame Flower City on my behalf. If there's anything you need, just tell him. Your subordinate understands. The Rose King nodded. Father, Mother, the Rose King is the Deputy City Lord of Flame Flower City. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask the Rose King. She will tell you. Yi Chen turned around and said to Yi Tianhao and Xin Yuqing. If the Yi family and the Fallout Sword sect wanted to control Flame Flower City, they still needed the help of the local Rose King. Therefore, Yi Chen would not deprive the Rose King of her position as the Deputy City Lord. Of course, there was more than one deputy city lord. The Rose King was the second deputy city lord, and his father, Yi Tianhao, was the first deputy city lord. After 4 months of travel, Su Jing, Murong Qinqing, and the others showed signs of a breakthrough. Yi Chen gave each of them 100 million yuan stones and told them to cultivate in the city lord's manner. The next day, Yi Chen, the 1,000 Arrows King, and the others rushed to the military planet Gold Armor Planet. Gold Armor Star Armor Soldier City. Secret Magic Tower. The secret magic tower had 7 floors. The first floor could be entered by any soldier. The second floor required 10,000 contribution points. The third floor required 100,000, the fourth 1 million, the fifth 10 million, the sixth 100 million, and the seventh 1 billion. After spending 1 billion yuan stones, Yi Chen exchanged for 1 billion contribution points. He planned to go to the 6th floor and exchange for an Emperor-grade soul defense secret technique. However, he found out that if one wanted to enter the 6th floor of the secret technique pagoda, not only would one need enough army contribution points, one would also need a certain military rank. Only great generals or 4-star purple gold rank commanders and above could enter the 6th floor of the secret technique pagoda. As for the 7th floor, only marshals were qualified. Arriving at the purple gold rank commander testing area, Yi Chen started the second test. In front of Emperor Scar Steel, Yi Chen took a deep breath and slashed with his sword. Puff! Stone fragments flew everywhere, and the sword mark was 4 inches deep. 4-star! 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 Many observers were dumbfounded. They looked at Yi Chen as if they were looking at a monster. Currently, there was not a single 4-star purple gold rank commander in the entire human race. Who would have thought that one would appear today? Secret Magic Tower's 6th floor. There were not many secret techniques here. With a rough look, there were only about 100 secret techniques. There were less than 10 soul defense secret techniques, which were very rare. Chapter 1147. Primordial Spirit Armor. Soul River. Crystal Soul. Vajra Primordial Spirit. Soul Ring. There were a total of 9 Emperor-grade soul defense secret art. The Primordial Spirit Armor was an armor constructed from soul power to protect the soul. It was equivalent to a warrior wearing an armor to protect the body. The soul defense was very strong and could resist some powerful soul attack. The most important thing was the quality. Soul River was the opposite of Primordial Spirit Armor. It diluted the soul power and formed a wide soul river outside the soul, which could resist soul attacks layer by layer. It was like an arrow shot into a river. The lower it went, the weaker it became. By the time it reached the bottom, it would be powerless. Crystal Soul was similar to Primordial Spirit Armor, but it emphasized on the soul's strength. Its cultivation requirements were higher than Primordial Spirit Armor, and its final effect varied from person to person. As for Vajra Primordial Spirit, it required extremely high comprehension. For those with low comprehension, they might not have any accomplishments even after hundreds or thousands of years, wasting their time. Of course, once successfully cultivated, it would be extremely frightening. Even soul attacks stronger than Vajra Primordial Spirit's soul defense might not be able to penetrate it. Finally, there was Soul Ring. Soul Ring required the highest army contribution points, reaching 800 million. Naturally, in terms of soul defense, Soul Ring could look down on the other 8 Emperor-grade soul defense secret arts. Soul Ring had 7 realms in total. With each realm, the Soul Ring would have 1 more ring. The first ring would be red, the second orange, the third yellow, the fourth green, the fifth cyan, the sixth blue, and the 7th purple. Generally speaking, one could cultivate a green soul ring, and their soul defense would be no weaker than ordinary Emperor-grade soul defense secret art. Cultivating a cyan soul ring would allow Yi Chen to ignore the soul attacks of several tens of thousands of ordinary kings. Blue soul ring had a special ability, which was to absorb different kinds of soul power to replenish one's own soul ring. For example, it could convert the enemy's soul attack into pure soul power and replenish the blue soul ring. In this way, the consumption of soul power would be reduced to the minimum, allowing one to persist for a longer time. The highest realm was Purple Soul Ring. This soul ring was not limited to defense. If a soul attack was not strong enough, it would collapse before it could even approach. It was incomparably tyrannical. When all 7 soul rings were complete, one's soul defense would reach a frightening level. As for how powerful it was, one would have to personally experience it to know. Without much consideration, Yi Chen directly chose Soul Ring. Only Yi Chen had reached the rank of a 4-star Violet Gold Commander. It could be said that Yi Chen's current status was equivalent to that of a great general, incomparably noble. Correspondingly, the treatment of 4-star Purple Gold rank commanders had greatly increased. A 3-star Purple Gold Commander could become a City Lord of a rank 3 life planet, while a 4-star Purple Gold Commander could become a City Lord of a rank 4 life planet. It was normal for a powerful Thearch-ranked monarch to own a few cities. Although Yi Chen was not a Thearch-ranked monarch, he was stronger than a Thearch-ranked monarch. After all, his potential was much stronger than most Thearch-ranked monarchs. However, Yi Chen did not plan on obtaining another city for the time being, even if it was the main city of a level 4 life planet. A single person's energy was limited, and he did not want to waste it on these things. Furthermore, he did not have enough manpower, so he could not manage 2 main cities. Every main city was not simple, and there were many different powers. If he managed them himself, it would naturally be very easy. However, if he let the Dreamfall Sword sect and the Yi family manage them, it would be hard to avoid mistakes. In reality, when Yi Chen had chosen Flame Flower City, he had not considered it for himself, but for the Dreamfall Sword sect and the Yi family. He wanted to find a place for the Dreamfall Sword sect and the Yi family to settle down. Now that he had a place to settle down, he could slowly develop it. In any case, Yi Chen did not care about the millions of yuan stones a city earned every year. With the yuan stone pool, no matter how fast his wealth was consumed, he would be able to replenish it with 100 million yuan stones every year. 100 million yuan stones was equivalent to the income of a level 3 main city for dozens of years. Of course, this was mainly because Yi Chen did not have the energy, and his faction was not strong enough. Once his faction was strong enough, Yi Chen would not mind owning a few more cities. For example, he was a 4-star Purple Gold rank commander, so he could actually become the City Lord of 4 main cities. A level 1 life planet, a level 2 life planet, a level 3 life planet, and a level 4 life planet. Right now, he only had 1 level 3 life planet, Flame Flower City. Flame City was one of the main cities of the Flame Star. If the Yi family and the Dreamfall Sword sect wanted to completely digest it, it would take at least dozens of years. Controlling a place was not just about martial power. Martial power was a bad thing, and governing power was the best. Every aspect, big or small, had to be perfectly coordinated. Instead of going to the Black Tortoise Ruins, Yi Chen returned to the Flame Star Flower City. Su Jing and Murong Qingqing were both training hard, wishing that they could turn one day into 2. At the moment, they needed to increase their cultivation base to the 4th Sky of Life and Death realm as soon as possible. With enough time, they would be able to focus on the Selfless realm. Currently, Su Jing had only refined 20% of the beast factor, and Murong Qingqing had only reached the late 1st level of the Selfless realm. These were their disadvantages. In order to help them make breakthroughs in a short time, Yi Chen asked around and found out that there was a mysterious gravity star 1 light-year away from the Flame Star. The gravity of the mysterious gravity star was very powerful, equivalent to 1,000th to 100th of a white dwarf star. It was very suitable for consolidating one's foundation and breaking through to the next realm. Immediately, Yi Chen sent Su Jing and Murong Qingqing to the mysterious gravity star, telling them to find a secluded place to train. Additionally, he gave each of them a peak small Heavenly King-grade battleship. His father, Yi Tianhao, had already gained a basic understanding of the power distribution of the Flame Flower City. With the help of the Rose King, he began to officially manage the city, preparing to turn it into the headquarters of the Falling Dust Sword sect and the Yi family. As for the original overlord of the Flame Flower City, the Zhao family had already started to relocate their entire family. It was not that they did not have other intentions, but when they found some titled monarchs to help them, they immediately changed their minds after learning that Yi Chen was a purple gold commander. Offending a purple gold commander with a bright future for the sake of the Zhao family was very unwise. Moreover, Yi Chen was not a 1- or 2-star purple gold commander, but a 3-star purple gold commander. Whether they could defeat him or not was still unknown. They still did not know that Yi Chen had already become a 4-star purple gold commander. Otherwise, their expressions would be even more interesting. There were not many people in the first batch to come to Flame Flower City, only 5,000 or 6,000 people. The Falling Dust Sword sect and the Yi family had not all arrived, and they were still on the way. Among this batch of people, there were a few hundred people from the Elixir King Island. As Yan Jianhui's grandfather, the Spirit Alchemy King had a good relationship with Yi Chen. He had asked for a quota of 50,000 people. These few hundred people were the vanguard, and the rest were also on the way. The Spirit Alchemy King planned to establish a school in Flame Flower City that focused on alchemists, just like the Elixir King Island. Naturally, this could not be done without the help of the Fallen Dust Sword sect and the Yi family. Of course, this was also a good thing for the Fallen Dust Sword sect and the Yi family. The two complemented each other, and their development would be even faster. Xianhou was already over 50 years old, so she could not enter the God Paradise. However, she did not care. The universe was very big, and there were many opportunities. Although the God Paradise was the best choice, it was not the only choice. She did not have much ambition, and only planned to establish a mysterious school in Flame Flower City. She would leave it to Yan Fengfeng to manage. As for herself, she would go on adventures everywhere, living a life where the 4 seas were her home. Yi Chen admired Xuanhou's carefree attitude very much. He believed that with Xuanhou's talent, there would be a place for her in the vast universe. Seeing that the Fallen Dust Sword sect and the Yi family were on the right track in Flame Flower City, Yi Chen relaxed. From now on, he would not need to worry and waste his energy. Your battleship can only be returned to you in the future. On the god ship, Yi Chen apologized to the 1,000-Arrow King and the other 5. Their Heavenly King battleship was still on the way, and it would still take more than half a year to reach Flame Flower City. As for the King battleship, it would take even longer, more than 2 years. However, these battleships were Elysiums, so Yi Chen had changed the exterior of the battleship to a different color. Although they were still Demon's battleships, as long as they reached Planet Flame, it would be fine. No worries, we are not in a hurry to use them anyway. The 1,000-Arrow King smiled. The god ship entered the God Paradise, and the 6 disembarked. There were still 2 months before entering the high-rank hunting grounds, and Yi Chen had plenty of shinbi. He planned to cultivate his soul ring in the Tower of Time. With the time ratio being 1:1, 2 months would be 200 months, which was close to 20 years. He should be able to make some progress. Chapter 1148. Of the 7 realms of Soul Ring, the first 3 realms were very easy for Yi Chen. After 3 days in the outside world and 300 days in the Tower of Time, Yi Chen reached the Yellow Soul Ring realm. Outside his Soul Sea, there were 3 different colored soul rings protecting him. They were red, orange, and yellow respectively, and they looked magnificent and magnificent. However, in terms of soul defense, the Yellow Soul Ring realm was only a little stronger than the Spirit Indestructible, not much stronger. These 3 realms were used to lay the foundation. The difficulty of the 4th realm, the Green Soul Ring realm, began to rise. 1 week in the outside world was 700 days in the Tower of Time. Outside his soul sea, the fourth soul ring was born, the green soul ring. Red soul ring, orange soul ring, and yellow soul ring. The 3 soul rings were similar in color. The green soul ring looked crystal clear and flawless, as if it was made from the purest green light. It had a purifying effect. When the green soul ring appeared, Yi Chen somehow felt that his soul was a lot safer. If the red soul ring, orange soul ring, and yellow soul ring were used to build the foundation, then the green soul ring was used for real defense. It could purify all kinds of external soul power and reduce the damage to a freezing point. Next was the green soul ring. It took Yi Chen a whole month to reach this realm, which was 3,000 days in the Tower of Time. The cyan spirit ring's radiance became much more vast and powerful. The dense cyan radiance enveloped the first 4 spirit rings. Upon careful observation, one could see that the cyan spirit ring was composed of tiny cyan runes. And the essence of the cyan runes was soul power. This kind of marvelous arrangement of soul power was beyond imagination. It seems that the remaining time is not enough for me to cultivate the blue soul ring. Took Yi Chen 1 month and 10 days to cultivate the green soul ring realm, and there was still a little more than a month left. It was impossible for him to cultivate the blue soul ring. After all, it took him 1 month to cultivate the green soul ring. However, Yi Chen was very satisfied with this result. The green soul ring realm was equivalent to an ordinary emperor-level soul defense secret skill, and the green soul ring was equivalent to an intermediate emperor-level soul defense secret skill, which was several levels stronger than the spirit indestructible, which was just an ordinary heavenly king-level soul defense secret skill. Lu Di, Sima Fei, Zhang Yining, use your soul attacks on me. Yi Chen found Lu Di, Sima Fei, and Zhang Yining to test out the soul defense of the soul ring. Then I'm going to get serious. Lu Di had trained in a top-tier Heavenly King stage soul attack secret technique, the Thunder Soul Blade. He was able to use his soul power to imitate the effects of lightning, numbing his enemies' souls. My death whip is not to be trifled with. And my eagle soul all. Zhang Yining and Sima Fei were very confident in their soul attack. They knew that with Yi Chen's soul defense, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, they would definitely feel dizzy and suffer a little. Come. Yi Chen smiled. I'll go first. Lu Di's glabella bulged, and a soul saber projection that sparkled with electric arcs shot out toward Yi Chen's soul. Yi Chen was already prepared. Outside his soul sea, 5 soul rings appeared one after another. From the inside to the outside, they were red, orange, yellow, green, and cyan. Bang! A formless collision sound rang out, and Lu Di's soul saber projection shattered into nothingness. As for Yi Chen, he was completely fine. The cyan soul ring only vibrated a little, and light flickered. Lu Di was shocked. Let's attack together, Zhang Yining suggested. All right. Lu Di and Sima Fei nodded. Almost at the same time, the 3 of them launched their soul attacks. Lu Di's soul saber projection was still flickering with electric arcs, Zhang Yining's soul whip was a whip, and Sima Fei's was a black soul all. Bang bang bang! The 3 soul attacks hit the cyan soul ring at the same time. However, the result was the same as before. The cyan soul ring only vibrated a little. So powerful. Yi Chen could clearly feel that the cyan soul ring was still far from collapsing. Even if he attacked it 10 more times, it wouldn't shake its foundation. As for the loss of soul power, it was very, very small, less than 1%. One had to know that even if the cyan soul ring collapsed, there were still green, yellow, orange, and red soul rings inside. Yi Chen, what kind of Emperor-class soul defense secret technique do you cultivate? Zhang Yining asked curiously. Soul ring, Yi Chen answered honestly. Soul ring. Zhang Yining shook her head. She had never heard of it. However, thinking about it, not everyone could enter the 6th floor of the secret law tower of Golden Armor Planet. It was normal that she had never heard of the secret techniques stored inside. It is indeed an Emperor-class soul defense secret technique. Our soul attacks can't shake it at all. Sima Fei smiled bitterly. Lu Di nodded and said, ordinary Emperor-class soul defense secret techniques are not so powerful. The soul ring is probably one of the better ones. Soul attack and soul defense were opposite. The soul attack of a top heavenly king naturally couldn't do anything to an Emperor-class soul defense. Under normal circumstances, when soul attack and soul defense were equal, no one could do anything to the other. If the soul attack was one level higher, it could only break through the opponent's soul defense. Similarly, it couldn't hurt the opponent. Only 2 levels higher could slightly hurt the opponent's soul. 3 levels higher could moderately hurt the opponent's soul. As for 4 levels higher, it could seriously hurt the opponent's soul. For example, if a person cultivated an ordinary Emperor-class soul defense secret technique, if one wanted to hurt his soul, one had to cultivate a superior Emperor-class soul attack secret technique, which was 2 levels higher. Currently, Yi Chen had cultivated a green soul ring, which was equivalent to a mid-level Emperor-class soul defense secret technique. If one wanted to hurt Yi Chen's soul, one had to cultivate a top Emperor-class soul attack secret technique. However, in reality, top Emperor-class soul attack secret techniques probably couldn't do anything to Yi Chen. It was mainly because Yi Chen's soul was already very strong, which could increase the effect of secret techniques. For example, Yi Chen's soul sword chi was actually equivalent to a top heavenly king soul attack secret technique. However, when Yi Chen used it, it was not weaker than an Emperor-class soul attack secret technique. In the blink of an eye, it was time to enter the high-level hunting battlefield. I wonder which enemy battle team we will meet this time? Yuan Hong smiled. Blood Spear King's Blood Spear battle team was defeated by Yi Chen previously. Now, only God Bless Queen's God Bless battle team is left. It can't be so coincidental. That's hard to say. The few of them chatted happily as they walked into the hunting tower. Because of Yi Chen's existence, the hunting team became the top battle team in the high-level hunting battlefield, leaving the original top 3 battle teams, God Bless Battle Team, Brutal Bone Battle Team, and Blood Spear Battle Team far behind. Meanwhile, Yi Chen had subtly become the top combat emperor in the high-level hunting battlefield. After all, even one of the 3 combat emperors, Blood Spear King, wasn't Yi Chen's match. Yi Chen, who was walking in front, smiled. Actually, with his power, he could defeat the 3 combat emperors, but he couldn't kill them. He only had the confidence to kill them if their power was more than 100 times stronger. The more powerful one was, the harder it was to kill them. This wasn't a lie. For example, when Yi Chen was still an ordinary person, it was very easy to kill someone. He just had to stab the other party's vital point, and he could kill the other party. An ordinary person's body was too weak. To kill someone, one didn't need to be much stronger than the other party. He just needed to be a little stronger. Now, to kill someone, one didn't even need to think about being a little stronger. One had to be many times stronger to be able to kill someone. Of course, although Yi Chen couldn't kill the 3 combat emperors, the others wouldn't be able to stop Yi Chen. The more he killed, the better. As time went by, the Paradise of Gods would gradually catch up to the Demonic God Paradise and Yasha God Paradise. It wasn't a good thing for the Yi Demon battle team to gain fame and deterrence. 4 days had passed, and the 7 of them had only killed 2 enemies. They had to chase for a few hours before they could catch up. When the enemy battle team sensed the arrival of the Yi Demon battle team and Yi Chen, they immediately fled without thinking. It seems like the speed of earning Shinbi is going to slow down in the future. Sima Fei said gloomily. As expected. Although it was a little regretful, Yi Chen felt that it was normal. Everything had its pros and cons. The enemies weren't fools. Knowing that they couldn't beat you, they still didn't flee. Wasn't that courting death? However, being strong had its own benefits. Most of the Commander God insects couldn't even withstand one attack from Yi Chen. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Chen wanted to leave some soup for his teammates, he could have easily killed the Commander God insects. Time passed bit by bit. Soon it was the 6th day. Yi Chen, someone's coming. Lu Wenjie's soul power sensed that someone was approaching. Yi Chen nodded. Releasing his soul power, he saw 5 battle teams. One of them was the Blood Spear battle team, and the other one had a female captain. Yi Chen had seen her in the miracle world. It was that dark goddess. She should be the #1 combat emperor of the demonic god paradise. God bless Queen. As for the other 3 battle teams, none of them were weak. The captains were all combat emperors. They were Demon Paradise's Blade Demon King, Sharp Horn King, and Evil God Paradise's Du Ling King. They're not friendly. Yi Chen squinted his eyes. 5 combat emperor teams. Myriad Arrow King was a little worried. What should we do? Zhang Yining looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen said, "You guys retreat for now. I'll stay here alone." You alone? Yuan Hong stared at Yi Chen. Yi Chen explained, "The war has started. You guys will be in danger. Don't worry. Although the enemy has a lot of people, they can't do anything to me. Instead, I'll kill a few of them." Yi Chen had been looking forward to a bloody battle for a long time. Yi Chen is right. We will only be a burden if we stay here. Myriad Arrow King nodded. All right then. The other 5 were helpless. Although they wanted to help, they were too weak. The enemy had 5 battle teams. 1 against 5, they couldn't hold on. After all, Yi Chen couldn't protect them during the battle. Swish, swish, swish. Exploding their speed, Myriad Arrow King and the other 5 retreated. As long as they could increase the distance, the enemy wouldn't be able to catch up to them so easily. As for Yi Chen, he was quietly standing on the crown of a tree, waiting for the enemy to arrive. Chapter 1149. Blood Spear Monarch, is his strength really as strong as you said? The Blade Demon King had fought with Yi Chen before. At that time, Yi Chen was still a quasi-emperor and was forced to flee by the Blade Demon King. He had never believed that Yi Chen had already surpassed the Blood Spear Monarch. One should know that the Blood Spear Monarch had the strength of an advanced combat emperor and was one of the 3 great combat emperors in the advanced hunting battlefield. How could he be surpassed so easily? Du Ling Monarch nodded slightly. She also didn't believe that Yi Chen had already reached such a level. After all, it had only been a few years. His progress was too fast. The Blood Spear Monarch said, "If I didn't experience it myself, I would be the same as you guys. Unfortunately, the truth is the truth. I couldn't do anything to him even if I used all my strength. In addition, his soul attack is very powerful. He can form sword chi to attack his enemies." The Blood Spear Monarch is right. He is indeed very strong. I saw him in the Black Tortoise ruins. At that time, the Divine Monument appeared and he comprehended many mysteries from it. The Queen of God Bless was very fearful of Yi Chen. As a demons with the rare dark goddess bloodline, there were very few in the same realm that could make her fearful. Yi Chen was one of them. She wasn't afraid of others competing with her bloodline, especially humans. However, Yi Chen's comprehension was too strong. Such a person would sooner or later become the supreme existence in the universe and become the greatest enemy of the demons. Even if he is very powerful, we can easily kill him with 5 teams working together. The Sharp-Horned King's original form was a demonic beast. Don't be careless. The Queen of God Bless reminded the Sharp-Horned King. She didn't want him to die under the sword of Yi Chen because of his carelessness. His teammates ran away. Everyone saw that only Yi Chen was left in the Exorcist team. Meanwhile, Yi Chen was quietly standing on the crown of the tree, seemingly waiting for their arrival. Too arrogant. The Blade Demon King was somewhat dissatisfied. This guy. The Queen of God Bless also frowned. The opponent was indeed too arrogant. Did he really think that he could fight against 5 combat emperor teams? Everyone, listen to my command. Begin the soul attack. The first advantage of numbers was that they could launch soul attacks together. They were not ordinary life and death kings. The soul attack secret arts they cultivated were at least heavenly king grade. For example, God Blessed Queen's soul attack secret art had even reached emperor grade. Even an extremely powerful titled monarch would have to think twice before dealing with the soul attack of 35 people. Buzz buzz buzz. One after another, soul attacks were launched at Yi Chen. God Bless Queen's soul attack was a Holy Soul arrow, Blood Spear King's was a blood dart, Blade Demon King's was a soul blade, Du Ling King's was a soul thread, and Horn King's was a soul roar. In addition to the other 30 soul attacks, all of them shot out in a densely packed manner. Yi Chen didn't dodge. He just smiled. In the next moment, 35 soul attacks entered Yi Chen's forehead. Bang 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 bang, continuous explosions rang out. These explosions could only be sensed by soul power. How is this possible? Horn King's eyes widened. Yi Chen, who was in front of him, was completely unharmed. His complexion didn't change at all. If all of you cultivated Emperor-grade soul attack secret arts, you might have been able to threaten me. Outside Yi Chen's Sea of Soul, the Cyan Soul Ring easily blocked the 35 soul attacks, consuming less than 3% of his soul power. Soul defense was different from soul attack. Although soul defense also consumed soul power, it depended on the strength of the opponent's soul attack. If the opponent couldn't break through the defense, then the consumption of soul power would be minimal. If the opponent could break through the defense, then the consumption of soul power would be much higher. Without using soul sword chi, which consumed too much soul power, Yi Chen said, "Now, it's my turn to attack." Swish. With a flicker, Yi Chen suddenly pulled out the dragon spring sword and slashed at the nearest quasi-emperor. Puff. Yi Chen's sword was too fast. By the time God Bless Queen and the rest reacted, this demonic god Paradise's quasi-emperor had already fallen, his armor and weapon falling down. Kill! At this moment, no words were needed. God Bless Queen took the initiative to attack Yi Chen. Her slender snow-white palm stretched out in the shape of a claw as she attacked toward Yi Chen. It was her ace attack. The surreal space rippled, and a huge blue-white claw appeared, shrouding toward Yi Chen. This claw attack had blocked all of Yi Chen's escape routes. There was no way he could escape. Break! Yi Chen flicked his wrist, and the dragon spring sword burst out with a dazzling sword light, slashing at the huge blue-white claw. There was a loud bang. The blue-white claw collapsed, but the sword light didn't stop. It landed on the God Bless Queen's protective halo and sent her flying. A trace of blood dripped down from the corner of her mouth. Repelling the God Bless Queen with one sword attack? The Blade Demon King was alerted. He took a step back and held his blade with both hands. Countless blade lights burst out, sweeping out like a destructive storm. Taste my beast demon god fist. The sharp Horn King finally realized how powerful Yi Chen was. He was indeed not someone he could fight alone. However, this infuriated him even more. If this kind of person was left alive, it would be a disaster for the demons. Crack! All of a sudden, the sharp Horn King threw out hundreds of punches. The pitch-black fist wind turned into a huge beast demon, which roared and pounced out. Snake Dragon Flash! The blood spear in the Blood Spear King's hand flashed, and a poisonous snake turned into a blood dragon. This attack was something Yi Chen had experienced before. It was a third transition martial art. As for the Du Ling King, he didn't use his killing attack. Instead, he expanded his domain and fought against Yi Chen's sword domain, then absorbed Yi Chen's power with the Du Ling Great Art. Although I won't be able to kill you, I will still make you feel pain. Yi Chen took a deep breath and activated his Zhen Yuan, performing the extreme third transition sword art, Sun Essence Extreme Conversion. It was as if a scorching sun had appeared in the void. Then, this scorching sun was devoured by the powerful sword chi, turning into a terrifying radiant sword chi that flew out. Like the scorching sun turning into snow, any killing attack that encountered the radiant sword chi would quickly melt. Even the snake dragon flash of the Blood Spear King was no exception. A shocking scene occurred. All 33 opponents were sent flying by the sword chi. 4 of them directly exploded in the air and turned into ashes. The power of the extreme sun essence had reached the extreme limit of masculinity. Even a slight touch would cause one's bones and flesh to melt, causing one's Tao to vanish. How can he be so powerful? At this moment, even the Blood Spear King was stunned. He never thought that the current Yi Chen was more than 10 times stronger than when he fought with him previously. This was no longer the category of an advanced combat emperor, but a peak-level combat emperor. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary peak-level combat emperor. He was very close to a beginner combat emperor. Die. After the Sun Essence Extreme Conversion, Yi Chen immediately performed the true Inferno Sword Art. The true Inferno Sword Art's strength lay in its momentum. Boom! The raging flame burned, and the fiery sword chi swept across the sky like a waterfall. Puff, 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 puff. The number of quasi-emperors that died under this sword had reached a new high, reaching 9. Including the 5 from before, there were 14 quasi-emperors that died in the hands of Yi Chen. Du Ling King spurted out mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale as he said, "He's too powerful. We can't fight him head-on. Unless we have 10 times more people and a few more advanced combat emperors, only then can we fight him. Go." The Blood Spear King was also spurting out blood. He was trembling with fear. The power that Yi Chen had displayed was enough to injure him in an instant. Fortunately, there were many people that came this time. If he was alone, he might not be able to escape if he was entangled by the opponent. After all, a mid-level Heavenly King set wasn't a death immunity card. Where do you think you're going? The blue silhouette was erratic. Yi Chen attacked with the third sword. This sword was the most unpredictable momentary glory. The momentary glory pursued a moment of glory. Once the sword was unleashed, even ghosts and gods wouldn't be able to escape. The enemy wouldn't know where the attack came from. They only knew that although the world was vast, there was no place for them to hide. 20. After 3 sword strikes, only 15 survived and 20 died. We can't fight this person head-on. Let's go. God Bless Queen finally arrived. She exerted all of her strength and shot out 7 bluish-white giant claws, while Blood Spear King also used 100 Snake Flurry. Right now, only the 2 of them could block Yi Chen for a short while. The others were simply sending themselves to their death. One would die and one pair would die. With God Bless Queen and Blood Spear King doing their utmost to block Yi Chen, the others hastily fled. Du Ling King, Blade Demon King, and Sharp-Horn King were also fleeing. They were trembling in fear. Mid-level Heavenly King set is indeed powerful. Yi Chen was entangled by the 2 and couldn't get away. The 2 were wearing mid-level Heavenly King set, which had powerful defense. In terms of defense, a mid-level Heavenly King set was equivalent to an Emperor-grade armor. Moreover, their cultivation base was higher than Yi Chen's, both at the peak of 6th layer life and death realm. They could display the might of the mid-level Heavenly King set to its limit. Yi Chen could injure them, but he couldn't kill them in a short time. Bang! After another huge collision, God Bless Queen and Blood Spear King borrowed the power of the explosion to retreat. Yi Chen didn't chase, since it was already too late. Huff! Slowly letting out a breath, Yi Chen revealed a smile. He had killed 20 enemies and earned a total of 3 million Shinbi. The majority of these 3 million would belong to him. It seemed like the day of exchanging for a high-level Heavenly King set was not far away. He truly didn't expect to encounter such a huge encirclement. He hoped that there would be more of such encirclement. Of course, this was only his extravagant hope. From now on, nobody would dare to challenge him in the high-level hunting battlefield. Several 100,000 li away, God Bless Queen and Blood Spear King were gathered together, looking extremely miserable. We miscalculated this time. He killed 20 of us. Blood Spear King said hatefully. Damn it! Blade Demon King was the most miserable. He was the only one left of his battle team, becoming a lone commander. God Bless Queen tried her best to regain her calm and said, although the losses were great, it wasn't without gains. What gains? Everybody turned to look at her. God Bless Queen said, his battle strength has already broken the balance of God Paradise. Once he breaks through to 7th layer life and death realm, he'll definitely be able to contend against 8th layer titled monarchs without falling into a disadvantageous position. Such a scourge, knowing his potential ahead of time, is not a gain. Of course, we can't kill him by ourselves. We can only contact the higher-ups and have them launch a plan to kill him. Right, we must inform the higher-ups. If this person doesn't die, heaven and earth will not tolerate him. Chapter 1150. 9th layer life and death realm experts were the supreme beings of this universe. What was a supreme being? Naturally, it was supreme. Without true gods, no one could compete with them. However, 9th layer life and death realm supremes were too rare. Each race only had a few of them. It could be said that any 9th layer life and death realm supremes would be a peerless genius when they were young. If other geniuses were stars, then a 9th layer life and death realm supremes would be the sun when they were young. Wanting to kill a 9th layer life and death realm supremes was as difficult as ascending the heavens, and the price one had to pay was extremely high. Only a group of 9th layer life and death realm supremes would have a chance. However, every race had a plan. Since they couldn't kill a 9th layer life and death realm supremes, then they would kill some peerless geniuses who had the possibility of becoming supremes. This way, as time passed, the number of 9th layer life and death realm supremes in the enemy races would decrease. Once the old ones died, the new ones would not appear, and victory would come naturally. Without a doubt, Yi Chun had the possibility of becoming a 9th layer life and death sovereign. It would be too late to kill him after he reached that step. Killing him now would only require 1,000th of the price. Of course, this would require a meticulous plan. After all, Yi Chun was basically staying in the 4 major life starfields. Killing him would not be that easy. Even 9th layer life and death sovereign or 8th layer titled monarchs couldn't act rashly. If even one of them died, it would be a huge loss, damaging the foundation. 7 days later, the Demon Hunter Squad left the high-rank hunting battlefield and returned to the God Paradise. Keep training, and try to cultivate to the Blue Soul Ring realm. In this hunt, Yi Chun had obtained a total of 3,100,000 Shinbi. Adding his previous gains, he now had 3,600,000 Shinbi. On the 2nd floor of the Tower of Time, Yi Chun continued to comprehend his soul ring. With his blue soul ring, Yi Chun was already able to ignore the soul attacks from the God Bless Queen and the others. On the battlefield, even tens of thousands of life and death realm warriors would not be able to do anything to him. Firstly, it was because his soul was too powerful, and secondly, it was because his soul ring was unfathomable. If he could train it to the Blue Soul Ring realm, not only would his soul defense increase to the next level, it would also be able to last longer. After all, both soul defense and soul attacks would consume soul power. As for the highest realm, the Purple Spirit Ring realm, Yi Chun could only estimate at present the specific strength, temporarily did not know. Cultivation was timeless, especially in the Tower of Time. Translator. WQL Editor. Alim 2 months in the outside world were equivalent to 6,000 days in the Tower of Time. Blue light appeared outside Yi Chun's soul sea, which was as pure as the azure sky. However, it was clearer than the azure sky. Gradually, the blue light formed a blue halo outside the cyan halo. Blue Soul Ring Realm achieved. It is time to go to the Black Tortoise Ruins. Yi Chen did not need to think to know that since he had spent more than 3 months to reach the Blue Soul Ring realm, it would take him at least a year to reach the Purple Soul Ring realm. And this was with the help of the Tower of Time. Therefore, there was no need to rush it, since there was no hope this year. Riding the god ship, Yi Chen headed to the Gold Armor planet in the Black Tortoise Star region. Thousand Arrow King and the other 5 went ahead of him. This time, Yi Chen decided to go to the Black Tortoise ruins alone. If there were too many people, he would not be able to perform well. Inside the Black Tortoise ruins, Yi Chen was drinking in the Hall of the Phantom while the ship was traveling at a high speed. 3 days later, Yi Chen had reached the core area of the Black Tortoise ruins. Almost there. Putting away the Phantom, Yi Chen gazed into the depths of the ruins. The Black Tortoise ruins was a huge battlefield. The human race, demons, evil spirit race, Yaksha race, Greenman race, and other races would all send armies to fight here. The human race fought to protect their territory, while the demons and other races fought to gradually invade the human race's territory. Both sides could be said to be irreconcilable. Under normal circumstances, armies that came to the Black Tortoise ruins consisted of 500 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people, and even 50,000 people. There were very few who came alone. After all, there were very few who could fight 1,000 people or 10,000 people. There would always be some weaknesses. Some had weak soul defenses, while others had weak physical defenses. Once surrounded, 9 out of 10 would be dead. Those who dared to come alone were all extremely confident in themselves. For example, some of the powerful 7th layer life and death titled monarchs would choose to enter the ruins alone. Firstly, it was more flexible. Secondly, it was faster to earn money, and everything would belong to them. Thirdly, it could temper their battle strength. As for 8th layer life and death titled monarchs and 9th layer life and death supremes, they rarely entered the ruins. They were the true pillars of their race, and their numbers were few. Death meant one less. Before the decisive battle, these people wouldn't come out. Once one of them appeared, it would immediately raise the alarm and escalate the battle situation. At that time, the situation would go out of control, which would not be a good thing for everyone. In any case, the Black Tortoise ruins was the territory of the human race. There were also life planets in the Black Tortoise ruins, but most of them were broken. Only 9th layer life and death supremes could destroy life planet. Back then, a great battle had destroyed 90% of the life planets. As for ordinary planets, billions of them had been destroyed, leaving the Black Tortoise ruins floating in the vacuum. Stepping on a constantly moving meteorite, Yi Chen's vertical eye opened. A silver light flickered as it scanned the surroundings like a three-eyed god. Got it! Soon, Yi Chen discovered a 500-man army of demons. Swish! The meteorite shattered, and Yi Chen's speed erupted to the limit as he flew toward the target. Enemies on the right. Everyone, prepare. Seeing that there was only one person, the leader of the demon army started to get nervous. Those who dared to enter the Black Tortoise ruins alone were all powerful warriors. If it were not for the fact that he had discovered that Yi Chen was only at the 5th sky of life and death realm, he might have already escaped with his army. Soul attacks. When the distance between the two sides was less than 100,000 li, 500 soul attacks shot toward Yi Chen. Yi Chen's complexion remained unchanged as he forcefully withstood the 500 soul attacks. He, who had cultivated a blue soul ring, didn't consume a single strand of soul power. The blue soul ring could transform different kinds of soul power to replenish himself. Die! Taking out the dragon spring sword, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. The dazzling sword light lit up the whole area. At first glance, Yi Chen looked like a sun. Boom! With one sword attack, all 500 people were killed. Broken armors and weapons floated in the air, along with those messy storage rings. With a wave of his hand, countless spoils of war turned into a flood and flowed into Yi Chen's storage ring. He had already entered the ruins a couple of times, and Yi Chen had collected a lot of extreme rank weapons and even more storage rings. If it were before, he would have sold them for yuan stones. But now, he didn't lack yuan stones. These extreme rank weapons could be stored in his family or martial school storage, and rewarded to those who had made great contributions. The broken extreme rank weapons could also be melted down and used as materials to train the first batch of extreme rank forgers. Next, after cleaning up the battlefield, Yi Chen turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Yi Chen had slaughtered a large number of alien armies. There were 9 groups of 500 warriors, 3 groups of 1,000 warriors, and 1 group of 5,000 warriors. Only a few actually managed to escape. This was all thanks to the soul rings. Otherwise, Yi Chen wouldn't have been able to ignore so many soul attacks. A group of 50,000 warriors. On this day, Yi Chen discovered an army of 50,000 warriors, which meant that the leader of the army was a general. If it was a 3-star general, Yi Chen wouldn't be afraid. But if it was a 4-star general, he could only run. After all, a true 4-star general's strength might be similar to Yi Chen's, but his equipment would definitely be better than Yi Chen's, and he would definitely have many Emperor-grade weapons. Emperor-grade weapons were extremely rare, and there was no market for them. Just like Emperor-grade battleships, ordinary people couldn't buy them even if they had yuan stones. Whatever, even if it's a 4-star general, he can't stop me if I want to leave. After a moment of hesitation, Yi Chen flew over without hesitation. General, enemies are coming. A Yaksha soldier came to report. How many? The Yaksha general was called Emperor Dolong, a 2-star general. 1 person. What, 1 person? Emperor Dolong was startled and promptly released his soul power. Soon, he discovered the rapidly approaching Yi Chen. When he discovered that the latter only had a cultivation base of 5th heavenly layer life and death realm, he couldn't help but sneer. He was truly courting death. Daring to come here alone, did he think that his army of 50,000 warriors was just for show? First group, listen to my command. Use soul attacks. Yes. Immediately, a dense array of soul attacks shot out. There were more than 5,000 of them, and the army was divided into 10 groups. Yi Chen's eyes turned and he started dodging, only being hit by 1 or 2,000 soul attacks. Emperor Dolong's eyes narrowed. Second group, third group, fourth group begin soul attacks. This time, there were 15,000 attacks, and 5,000 of them hit Yi Chen. What made Emperor Dolong furious was that Yi Chen was unharmed. Damn! What kind of soul defense secret art is he cultivating? Everyone, listen to my command. Collective soul attacks. Emperor Dolong himself also released a sickle-shaped soul attack. He cultivated an Emperor-grade soul attack secret art. Although he hadn't reached it yet, it couldn't be underestimated. Puff 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 puff, 50,000 soul attacks blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Even if Yi Chen dodged as much as he could only dodge half of them. What made Yi Chen feel relieved was that although the blue soul ring shook intensely, it didn't show any signs of collapsing. Clearly, the 20,000 soul attacks hadn't pushed the blue soul ring to its limit. Instead, it had consumed a lot of soul power, roughly 5%, and this was under the condition of replenishment. It's my turn. Instantly entering the selfless Emperor realm, Yi Chen unleashed a sword attack with all his strength. This sword was aimed at Emperor Dolong, and it was precisely the extreme Yang Sun essence transformation. A dazzling radiance filled the heaven and earth, and Emperor Dolong was sent flying while spurting out blood. In his vicinity, several hundred people were instantly annihilated. Yi Chen ignored the others and chased after Emperor Dolong. To him, killing a general was more valuable. But what he didn't know was that the situation here was seen by another general. This general was the same as Yi Chen, entering the Black Tortoise ruins alone. He was the General of Demons. Chapter 1151. Powerful. To be able to resist several tens of thousands of soul attacks, he must have cultivated an extremely powerful Emperor-grade soul defense secret art. This sword art is also inconceivably powerful, allowing a fifth-layer life and death king to erupt with such frightening offensive power. Could it be an extreme third revolution sword art? Demon Spear Emperor was a 4-star general of demons. Seeing Yi Chen's sword art, he was incomparably shocked. Generally speaking, those who could create extreme third revolution martial arts were 8th-layer life and death king titled monarch. There were also 7th-layer life and death kings, but they were extremely rare. Each of them was a peak genius whose strength couldn't be measured by the surface realm. However, Yi Chen was only at 5th-layer life and death realm, yet he had already created an extreme third revolution sword art. How could he not be shocked? If this kid doesn't die, he'll become a disaster for us demons in the future. An intense killing intent flickered in the demonic spear emperor's eyes as he rushed over. As a 2-star general of Yiksha race, Dolong Emperor was clad in a low-grade emperor-grade armor, and the weapon in his hand was a peak heavenly king-grade weapon. However, facing Yi Chen's sword, he couldn't block it at all. Yi Chen's sword seemed to have condensed a sun. As soon as the sword slashed out, the blazing sword chi began to evaporate his blood and internal energy through the armor. Low-grade Emperor-grade armor? Yi Chen's brows creased. A low-grade Emperor-grade armor's defensive power was not inferior to a mid-heavenly king-grade set. However, Dolong Emperor was a titled monarch, and the defensive power he could display was even higher than Blood Spear King and God-blessed Queen. It seemed like killing him wouldn't be that easy. It would be better to kill these Yiksha soldiers first. Changing his target, Yi Chen slaughtered the Yiksha soldiers. With a wave of his sword, at least 500 to 600 Yiksha soldiers turned into blood mist. Dozens of sword strikes later, Yi Chen had already killed 7,000 to 8,000 people. It was a completely one-sided situation. As for the Yiksha soldiers, although they were attacking Yi Chen together, Yi Chen's sword domain had reached mid-5th layer, and it contained the power to condense space. Coupled with the mid-heavenly king-grade set, not many attacks could land on his body. He could use the space profound to dodge the majority of the attack. 9,000, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000. Like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, wherever Yi Chen went, there would be a rain of blood and a foul wind, and the intense sword light was unstoppable. Damn it! Go to hell! Emperor Dolan was blasted thousands of miles away by Yi Chen's sword. Seeing Yi Chen massacring the Yiksha soldiers, his eyes immediately turned red. The black spear in his hand turned into a black dragon and pounced at Yi Chen. Rank 3 Martial Art, Black Dragon Wave. Humph! Yi Chen took out another Heavenly King stage artifact sword. With a wave of his left hand, a fiery sword chi swept out towards the black dragon. Rumble! An earth-shattering explosion rang out. Hundreds of Yiksha soldiers within the range of the explosion were killed in an instant. Emperor Dolan spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying again. With 2 swords in his hands, Yi Chen showed the Yiksha soldiers what it meant to be a swordsman and a harvest. Little thief, die! At this moment, a sparkling spear light, like a black lightning bolt, suddenly attacked Yi Chen. Amazing! Yi Chen felt that this spear was very powerful, and if he was hit, he would be injured. Not daring to be careless, Yi Chen used the true Inferno sword to meet the attack. The explosion this time was even more powerful than before. 700 to 800 Yiksha soldiers were killed by the shock wave and turned into ashes. All of them hurriedly fled in all directions, trying to increase the distance between them. Raising his eyes, Yi Chen looked at the person who had come. It was a titled monarch of the demons. He was holding a black spear, and the flames on his body were very sharp. He was not on the same level as Emperor Dolan. After scanning the other party for a while, Yi Chen's eyes fell on the black spear in the other party's hand. High-grade Emperor weapon. Yi Chen's breathing stagnated. To be able to possess a high-grade Emperor weapon, he was at least a 3-star general, with the highest possibility of being a 4-star general. Emperor weapons were basically not sold on the market, and could only be bought in the army. Moreover, one had to have a battle record. If one could kill a 1-star general, one would be qualified to buy a low-grade Emperor weapon. If one killed a 2-star general, one would be qualified to buy a mid-grade Emperor weapon. If one killed a 3-star general, one would be qualified to buy a mid-grade Emperor weapon. Yi Chen wanted to kill Emperor Dolan because he wanted to be qualified to buy a mid-grade Emperor weapon. After all, in the Paradise of Gods, one could exchange for a high-grade Heavenly King set. Of course, killing an honorary commander could also buy an Emperor weapon. Yi Chen had killed the Yiksha race's 1-star Blood Diamond commander, King Mal, and the Greenman race's 2-star Jade commander, King Blue Devil. Unfortunately, Yi Chen did not know this at that time, so he did not collect King Mal's 1-star Blood Diamond commander badge and King Blue Devil's 2-star Jade commander badge. It had to be known that an honorary commander badge and an ordinary commander badge were different in style, but there was no difference in essence. One had to use an honorary badge to prove whether one had killed a 1-star Blood Diamond commander badge or a 2-star Jade commander badge. He blocked my spear. He is stronger than I thought. The black spear in the Demon Spear Emperor's hand was a high-grade Emperor weapon, the Black Moon Spear. It could bring his attack power to a whole new level. Even so, the spear just now could not do anything to Yi Chen. Although the spear had come in a hurry, and he did not use any powerful martial arts, it was not something an ordinary person could block. His cultivation is higher than mine, and his weapon is better than mine. Fortunately, those are the only two. Yi Chen estimated his opponent's strength. Compared to his opponent, Yi Chen was at a disadvantage in terms of cultivation and weapon. Their cultivation bases were 2 heavenly layers lower, and their weapons were several levels lower. His Dragon Spring Sword was just a Heavenly King artifact sword. It had been reforged and upgraded to a top-tier Heavenly King artifact sword, but it was still 3 levels lower than his opponent's spear. However, it was not that Yi Chen did not have any advantages. Otherwise, he would not have been able to block his opponent's spear. Yi Chen's sword domain was much higher than his opponent's, at the mid-stage of the 5th level. His sword arts were also many times more powerful. Take my Black Moon Soul Seizing. The Demon Spear Emperor roared and stabbed out with his spear. The spear light condensed into a black crescent moon, slashing towards Yi Chen at an extreme speed. Yi Chen did not dodge. The Dragon Spring Sword trembled, and the Sun Essence Extreme Transformation was executed. In the next moment, a black crescent moon and a dazzling sword chi clashed together. The entire world was half dark and half bright. The scene was spectacular yet tragic. Puff! Spurting out a mouthful of blood, Yi Chen was injured. In terms of personal strength, the 4-star general was not stronger than him. However, the 4-star general had a high-level Emperor weapon, which was his greatest advantage. Furthermore, his cultivation base was too low, and he could not bring out the defensive power of the mid-Heavenly King set to the next level. Haha, you can also be injured. Die. Seeing that Yi Chen was injured, the Demon Spear Emperor calmed down and attacked Yi Chen again and again. There was not much of a gap in between. Brothers kill. Emperor Dolan came to his senses. Seeing that the Demon Spear Emperor was killing Yi Chen in a sorry state, he was very happy, but then he was extremely angry. In a short period of time, Yi Chen had actually killed 15,000 Yiksha race soldiers. This was too despicable. With a loud shout, Emperor Dolan ordered all the Yiksha race soldiers to attack Yi Chen with their souls. As for himself, he joined forces with the Demon Spear Emperor to attack Yi Chen. The Demon Spear Emperor did not care about Emperor Dolan's help. To him, it was enough to kill Yi Chen. There was no need to kill him one-on-one. That would be very stupid. Outside, there were tens of thousands of soul attacks, and inside, there were two titled monarchs attacking him. Yi Chen was in a predicament. Dang. Using his left hand to block Emperor Dolan's attack, Yi Chen's right hand shook, and he used Moment of Glory. The sword light merged into the void, and directly slashed at the demon Spear Emperor. Unfortunately, this sword attack was futile. The armor on the demon Spear Emperor's body was also an Emperor-grade artifact. It was a mid-Emperor-grade armor, and its defense was even higher than Emperor Dolan. With Yi Chen's current attack, he could not do anything to the opponent. Although Yi Chen had the strength of a peak battle emperor, the demon Spear Emperor had the strength of a low-level battle emperor. The 7th and 8th layer of Life and Death Realm were both titled monarch. However, the title of a 7th layer monarch could only contain the word emperor, and not emperor. Only the title of an 8th layer monarch could contain the word emperor. Relying on the Black Moon Spear, the demon Spear Emperor had the strength of a low-level battle emperor. Fortunately, Yi Chen had already cultivated to the Blue Soul Ring realm, and could resist wave after wave of soul attacks. Otherwise, he would have died miserably here. 10%, 20%. Soon, 20% of Yi Chen's soul power was consumed, and the enemy's soul attacks were also becoming sparse. After all, they could not endlessly launch soul attack. 3 or 4 waves of soul attacks was already not bad. Right now, the real threat came from the demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor. Go! Borrowing the explosive power of the two sides, Yi Chen suddenly flew out like a blue bird, transforming into countless phantoms. Stop him! Dolan Emperor's eyes turned red as he yelled. Immediately, thousands of Yiksha soldiers blocked Yi Chen's escape route. Die! Man and sword as one, Yi Chen attacked. Puff 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 puff. Blood splattered unceasingly, and Yi Chen's momentum slowed down. The demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor chased after him again. You want to stop me? In your dreams. The sword domain outside Yi Chen's body suddenly expanded to its limit, and a powerful condensing power spread out. Apart from the demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor, everyone else was affected. Swish. In an instant, Yi Chen got rid of the obstacles. Without any obstacles, it would be difficult for the demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor to catch up to Yi Chen. Yi Chen's split sword domain could allow his speed to reach a frightening level, not inferior to a titled monarch. Damn it! After chasing for a while, the demon Spear Emperor and Dolan Emperor stopped, their expressions ugly. Yi Chen not only had terrifying battle prowess, but he was also very good at escaping. Even the two of them and tens of thousands of Yiksha soldiers couldn't stop him. This kind of person was the most dangerous and difficult to deal with. Millions of miles away, Yi Chen slowed down. High-class Emperor rank weapons are too powerful. It's hard to resist with just the Dragon Spring Sword. Seems like I have to find an Emperor rank sword. This time, Yi Chen planned to target honorary commanders. Honorary commanders were easier to kill. 2-star generals and above all had Emperor rank weapons. If they had Emperor rank armors, it would be too difficult to kill them. This had nothing to do with strength. It was all about defense, just like Dolan Emperor. Chapter 1152. Of course, this was also due to Yi Chen's lack of luck. If Emperor Dolong didn't have a low-grade Emperor-grade armor, but a low-grade Emperor-grade weapon, Yi Chen might have been able to kill him. After all, the majority of 2-star generals could only kill one 1-star general, and could only purchase a low-grade Emperor-grade weapon. Whether one chose a defensive or offensive weapon depended entirely on one's inclination. Why were 3-star generals and 4-star generals so powerful? It was because in order to become a 3-star general, one had to kill a 1-star general. A 2-star general could choose a low Emperor-grade weapon, a medium Emperor-grade weapon, and a 4-star general were even more powerful. They could choose a low Emperor-grade weapon, a medium Emperor-grade weapon, and a high Emperor-grade weapon, which could be used for both offense and defense. If Yi Chen wanted to obtain an emperor-grade sword as soon as possible, he could only set his sights on a one-star general or an honorary commander. I'll recover my Zhen Yuan first. Compared to soul power, Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan consumption was severe. He only had 20 to 30% left. Battling Dolong Emperor and Demonic Spear Emperor, he didn't consume much Zhen Yuan. The majority of it was used to defend against several tens of thousands of Yiksha soldiers. Quantitative change could lead to qualitative change, and this could work at any time. Although Yi Chen had instant sword domain, which had reached the mid-5th layer, and was wearing a mid-grade Heavenly King armor, he was, after all, facing several tens of thousands of life and death kings. A casual wave of attacks would contain over 1,000 attacks, and the consumption of Zhen Yuan was unimaginable. Normally, when encountering several tens of thousands of kings, one should not clash head-on. One had to slaughter their way through and not let them join hands to attack. Otherwise, even if one could resist, one's Zhen Yuan would be completely consumed. Unless Yi Chen's cultivation base reached the 7th layer, he would have enough Zhen Yuan to support it. Recovering Zhen Yuan for life and death kings consumed a lot of Yuan stones. With Yi Chen's 5th layer cultivation base, recovering 70 to 80% of his Zhen Yuan would cost him 100,000 Yuan stones. Why would life and death kings risk their lives to earn Yuan stones? Increasing cultivation base was one thing, but recovering Zhen Yuan was the most important. Without Yuan stones, who knew how many days it would take to recover Zhen Yuan through seclusion? After flying for a while, Yi Chen found a huge meteor several dozen li in diameter. With a puff, Yi Chen drilled inside and carved out a spacious stone room before sitting down cross-legged. 50,000 yuan. $100,000. 150,000 yuan. $180,000. After refining 180,000 yuan stones, Yi Chen had finally recovered his Zhen Yuan to its peak. As for soul force, there was no way around it. You could only rely on it to slowly recover, or you could use elixirs or treasures to replenish soul force. Walking out of the stone chamber, Yi Chen randomly chose a direction and flew out. This was a vast meteorite field. The meteorite field was hundreds of millions of miles long, and the widest part was over 10 million miles wide. It was constantly shifting, and in the center of the meteorite field, two armies were engaged in a fierce battle. One was the army of demons, numbering 5,000, and the other was the army of humans, also numbering 5,000. Dazzling energy waves shot out in all directions, annihilating meteorites one after another. Shock waves spread out, and people fell one after another. It was incomparably tragic and spectacular. We can't hold on much longer. Among the human army, there were 7 members of the Paradise of Gods, including Huang Fuyu. Initially, Yi Chen had joined Huang Fuyu's Frost Battle Team, but later, he heard that Huang Fuyu reached the 9th floor of the God of War Pagoda and became a high-level member of the Paradise of Gods, joining a high-level battle team, the Starship Battle Team. The captain of the Starship Battle Team, the Celestial River King, was the leader of the 4 great quasi-emperors of the Paradise of Gods. He was very powerful and held the rank of commander in the army. This human army was led by him. Unfortunately, they had bad luck this time. They unexpectedly encountered an army of demons led by a dark commander. To become a dark commander, one naturally had the strength of a war emperor. The difference between a quasi-emperor and a war emperor was not just 1 or 2 points. As such, the Celestial River King was not an opponent of the other party. He die. The Devil Face King was a 1-star dark commander. Even if the 7 members of the Starship Battle Team besieged him, they would still be sweating profusely. Puff! The 7 people were blown away by the powerful energy waves and spat out mouthfuls of blood. Eyes filled with killing intent, the Devil Face King rushed to the front of the Celestial River King and swung his mace. He was confident that this mace could smash the Celestial River King into a blood mist. Ice Emperor / Huang Fuyu, under the care of the 6 people, did not suffer many attacks. At this time, she did not care about becoming the target of the Devil Face King. An icy blue arc-shaped blade light slashed at the mace, deflecting the other party's attack trajectory. Taking advantage of this gap, the Celestial River King quickly dodged and immediately cast a grateful look at Huang Fuyu. "You're courting death." The Devil Face King was furious and rushed towards Huang Fuyu. The mace in his hand suddenly grew to thousands of meters long. The huge mace looked like a hill covered with iron thorns. All the meteorites in its path exploded. "Am I going to die?" Huang Fuyu could not stop it. The other party's attack speed was too fast. "Huang Fuyu, long time no see." At this moment, a sword light followed the gap between the meteorites and slashed towards the mace. With a clang, the mace was sent flying by the sword chi, and a few of the iron thorns on it were cut off. As for the Devil Face King, his entire right arm burst into a blood mist, and he instantly retreated hundreds of miles away. "Yi Chen." Hearing this familiar voice, Huang Fuyu abruptly turned her head. Before this sword chi, Yi Chen was still 1,000,000 miles away. But after this sword chi, Yi Chen was already tens of thousands of miles behind Huang Fuyu. Swish! With a flash of blue light, Yi Chen's figure instantly appeared. "It's Yi Chen." Celestial River King and the rest of the Starship Troopers also recognized Yi Chen. Yi Chen was known to almost everyone in the Paradise of God. In less than 10 years, he had become a battle emperor from a newcomer. This kind of progress was shocking. His contemporaries, Peerless King Jiu and lifeless swordsman Ling Fifan, had only reached the 8th floor of the God of War Pagoda. In the history of the Paradise of Gods there had been such figures. But in the past 2 years, Yi Chen's progress had not slowed down, but instead increased. He suddenly became the top battle emperor in the high-level hunting battlefield, the battle emperor of the Paradise of True God. Those battle emperors from the Paradise of Gods trembled in front of him. They did not even have the fighting spirit to fight and directly ran away. While the senior members of the Paradise of Gods felt happy, they also secretly thought that Yi Chen was too abnormal. "I didn't expect to meet you here. Thank you." For some reason, Huang Fuyu was in a good mood. "I just happened to bump into you." From 900 million miles away, Yi Chen discovered the situation here. Whether or not there was a dark commander in the demon's army, he would come over. After all, they were all members of the Paradise of Gods. "Yi Chen, it's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, we would have suffered heavy losses, and the chances of us leaving alive would have been slim." Celestial River King said gratefully. "Leave this demon to me, you deal with the others." The war was still going on, and now was not the time to catch up. "Okay." Nodding, Celestial River King led 6 people, and charged towards the demon's army. In a short time, the humans had lost more than 1,000 people, while the demons had only lost 500 or 600 people. "Kid, who are you?" Demon Mask King looked at Yi Chen vigilantly. The sword chi had come too suddenly, and he could not react in time. But there was no doubt that Yi Chen was strong, at least a 1-star purple-gold commander. Dead people don't need to know the answer. Raising the dragon's spring sword, Yi Chen swung it and displayed the true Inferno sword. Boasting shamelessly, the Devil Mask King roared. The mace in his hand was like a huge mountain as he rushed forward to meet Lin Fan's attack. A sound like an egg breaking rang out, and Demon Mask King's body paused. The next moment, blood mist scattered and smoke scattered. With Yi Chen's strength, even a 3-star Dark Commander was not his opponent, not to mention a 1-star Dark Commander like Demon Mask King. After killing Demon Mask King, Yi Chen stretched out his hand, and a 1-star Dark Commander badge fell into Yi Chen's hand. With this badge, Yi Chen was qualified to buy a low-rank Emperor-grade artifact. Putting away Demon Mask King's storage ring, armor, and mace, Yi Chen began to help the human army slaughter the demon's army. Since both sides were engaged in a chaotic battle, Yi Chen couldn't use any big moves, and could only kill small groups of them. Fortunately, his efficiency wasn't bad. In a dozen breaths' time, over 1,000 demonic race soldiers had died under his sword. Run! Demon Mask King's tragic death caused the morale of the demon's army to waver. They frantically tried to escape. However, this place was full of meteorites, and they could not increase their speed to the limit. One meteorite could not slow down one's speed, but hundreds of thousands of meteorites were enough to reduce one's speed to the lowest point. In a short while, out of the 5,000 demons, less than 100 managed to escape. The speed at which the situation was reversed was astonishing. Haha, great! The human army's morale soared. Yi-Chen, why are you alone in the Black Tortoise ruins? As the rest of the human soldiers were collecting their spoils, Galaxy River King's group of 7 flew over. Yi-Chen said, leading a team is too troublesome. It's more comfortable to be alone. If he wanted to go, he could go, and if he wanted to fight, he could fight. Right, with your strength, leading a team is indeed troublesome. Galaxy River King nodded and secretly envied Yi-Chen's strength. If he had Yi-Chen's strength, he would also go to the Black Tortoise ruins alone, just like Yi-Chen. After chatting for half an hour, Yi-Chen said his goodbyes and said, "This is the core area. You'd better step back a little. I'll take my leave first." "Leaving so soon?" Huang Fuyu asked. "In the future, I'll treat you to a drink in the paradise of gods." With a smile, Yi-Chen turned around and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The dense meteorites could not stop him, and he could always fly through the gaps between the meteorite. What a strange person! The Celestial River King sighed. Yi-Chen's free and easy posture was destined to leave a deep impression in their hearts. Although he killed a 1-star Dark Commander, Yi-Chen had not decided to leave the Black Tortoise ruins yet. He intended to stay for a while and see if he could gain more. After all, there was a huge gap between a low-level Emperor-grade weapon and a middle-level Emperor-grade weapon. Moreover, he also planned to get some Emperor-grade weapons for Su Jing and Murong Qinqing. Chapter 1153. The Black Tortoise ruins was inconceivably huge. Its diameter was calculated in light years. Even light would need many years to travel this distance. However, the core area of the Black Tortoise ruins wasn't very big. It was only a few 100 trillion miles in radius. The reason why there was a core area was because there was a black hole in the center of the Black Tortoise ruins. This black hole had a powerful gravitational force that slowly attracted the mass of the Black Tortoise ruins. Over time, the core area was formed. There were a lot of junk in the core area, such as meteorites, broken planets, and some dangerous cosmic wonders. Compared to the outer area of Black Tortoise ruins, the core area was 100 times more dangerous. Of course, if one's strength was high and luck was not too bad, the so-called danger was only relative. Flying in the vacuum of the core area, Yi-Chen sensed the aura of destruction and couldn't help but sigh. Back then, when the human race and the alien race battled, the destruction caused was enormous. As far as the eye could see, meteorites could be seen everywhere. These meteorites used to be part of some planet. Some were palm-sized, while some were as big as a mountain. Added together, there were billions and billions of them. It was simply impossible to count. Occasionally, Yi-Chen could even see 1 or 2 broken planets. Of course, they were not ordinary planets, but broken planets with life. Ordinary planets couldn't be preserved at all. They were too fragile, and the gravitational force of the black hole could slowly distort and disintegrate them. Not only were the life planets huge, but they also contained unimaginably frightening energy. On a life planet, one's destructive power would be reduced by hundreds and thousands of times. It was simply impossible to carry out large-scale destruction. Only ninth-layer life and death supremes could destroy a life planet. Just now, when Yi-Chen flew past a life planet with a diameter of 10 million li, he clearly saw a huge palm imprint on it. Although the imprint was blurry, Yi-Chen's heart stopped beating as soon as he looked at it. It was too frightening. Although the imprint was left a long time ago, the martial intent on it still carried a destructive killing power. Yi Chen suspected that if he got too close, his soul would collapse. This palm imprint was simply beyond the scope of human strength. It could even be called the imprint of a deity. Compared to the owner of this imprint, Yi Chen felt insignificant, like a speck of dust. 9 heavens of life and death realm. One step at a time. You can't compare. Yi Chen couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Although there were 2 heavens between the 9th and 7th layer, and 4 heavens between the 5th layer and 5th layer, the gap was like a chasm. Moreover, the further one went, the bigger the gap would be. From the 6th layer to the 7th layer was a chasm, and from the 7th layer to the 8th layer was an even bigger chasm. From the 8th layer to the 9th layer was a supreme chasm. With one step, one would become the supreme of the universe. However, the huge gap did not affect Yi Chen. Instead, it completely stimulated Yi Chen's fighting spirit. After flying for a few billion li, Yi Chen saw another broken life planet. This one was even bigger than the previous one, more than 10 million li wide. There was no palm imprint on it, but rather a several million li wide fist imprint. The fist imprint was immeasurably deep, probably hundreds of thousands of li deep. This was a life planet. If it were an ordinary planet, even if it were 100 times bigger, it would have been shattered by a single fist imprint. However, life planets were rather special. They couldn't be shattered into pieces at once, and the energy contained within could counteract the destructive power by 1,000 times. Of course, the energy of this life planet had already leaked out, and not much remained. If not for the fist intent supporting it, it would have disintegrated long ago. Why don't I experience the fist imprint's owner's fist intent? Yi Chen's heart was moved. He decided to experience the fist intent of a 9th layer life and death supreme. 30 million li. 20 million li. 20 million li. So powerful! Yi Chen's expression changed. He felt waves of boundless fist intent coming right at him, giving him a sense of fear that he had never felt before. 20 million li. 18 million li. 15 million li. At this moment Yi Chen's face suddenly turned pale. In his perception, a towering giant furiously roared and blasted a fist at him. This fist wasn't very big at first, but in an instant it filled the entire world, as if the world was about to be shattered by it. Puff! Spurting out a mouthful of blood, Yi Chen's entire body was sent flying backwards. He was wounded by the fist intent. His indestructible blue spirit ring had also been shattered, followed by the blue and green spirit rings, and only when he reached the yellow spirit ring did he barely stabilize himself. Too powerful? Yi Chen had a lingering fear in his heart. Even at such a distance, the remnant fist intent of a 9th layer life and death sovereign was actually able to injure him. If he hadn't been cautious and used the soul ring secret art to approach it, his soul would have been severely injured, and there was even a possibility that his soul would have been destroyed. This greatly puzzled him. No matter how powerful a 9th layer life and death sovereign was, it shouldn't be this tyrannical. If before, Yi Chen only suspected that if he got too close, his soul would collapse. But now Yi Chen was sure that if he got too close, his life would be in danger. Could it be the power of a supreme martial skill? Supreme martial skills were supreme martial skills that had reached the peak of martial skills. It was normal for them to contain some tyrannical nature, and this was the only reasonable explanation. After all, the martial will was only at the 9th step, and Yi Chen's immortal sword intent was only at the 7th step, which was only 2 steps away from the 9th step. The remnant will of the 9th step couldn't injure him from a distance of 15 million li. Of course, Yi Chen also knew that the might of a 9th layer life and death supreme was greater than others. A 9th layer life and death supreme. Yi Chen murmured to himself, then turned around and left. Along the way, Yi Chen annihilated a lot of alien races. Unfortunately, honorary commanders were not that easy to come across. For example, human race only had 50 honorary commanders, and the death of one was one less. The total number of honorary commanders of alien races was only a few hundred. Encountering one occasionally was reasonable, but encountering one frequently, even Yi Chen didn't believe that he would be so lucky. Unknowingly, 3 days passed. On this day, Yi Chen arrived near a huge life planet. This life planet couldn't be considered broken, but it wasn't complete either. On its surface there were dozens of huge holes. These holes weren't formed naturally, but seemed to have been made by spears. The diameter of the holes was about the same, several tens of thousands of li. The depths were somewhat frightening, extending all the way to the depths of the life planet. Vaguely, one could see the magma inside the planet through the holes, which was dark red in color. Clearly, the energy of this life planet hadn't completely leaked out yet. The life planet was like a honeycomb floating alone in the vacuum. From time to time, human figures would enter the planet through the holes. Sometimes it was a single person, sometimes it was a group of 2 or 3, and sometimes it was an entire army. Since Yi Chen was too far away, these people didn't notice Yi Chen. There must be something mysterious inside. Yi Chen didn't believe that these people entered the planet for fun. There must be something attracting them. However, he was sure that it was extremely dangerous inside. Not only was the environment dangerous, but the enemies were even more dangerous. Who knew what kind of experts he would encounter inside? Activating his soul eyes to the limit, Yi Chen wanted to see through the entire life planet. After trying hard for a few breaths, Yi Chen had no choice but to close his soul eyes. The energy level of this life planet was too high, and he couldn't see through it, even if it was only a life planet with incomplete energy. If he wanted to see the mysteries, he would have to go in and take a look himself. Swish! Without much hesitation, Yi Chen's figure flickered, flying toward the life planet. After dozens of breaths, Yi Chen entered through a hole. The hole was very deep, and waves of hot wind blew out. It was hot enough to melt metal, and the deeper he went, the higher the temperature. After a while, Yi Chen arrived at the inner part of the life planet. So hot! As far as the eye could see, there was a black-red color everywhere. It wasn't a black-red flame, but a black-red liquid. This place was like a karst cave, extending in all directions. His soul power was greatly restricted in this place, and could only extend to a few thousand miles away. If the energy level was too high, it would also have a huge impact on his soul power. Grabbing a handful of black-red liquid from the surface of the lava, a sizzling sound could be heard. This black-red liquid seemed to be formed by energy, and it had a very strong burning power. Yi Chen guessed that this black-red liquid should be the lava inside the life planet, a mixture of lava and energy. Without touching the ground, Yi Chen followed the lava tunnel and walked forward. There were too many lava tunnels, and after half an hour, Yi Chen could not find the way back anymore. So, Yi Chen made up his mind and did not care about anything else. He just walked as he pleased. This is? When passing through a lava tunnel, Yi Chen suddenly stopped. He reached out his hand and made a grabbing gesture. A red gem on the left side of the lava wall landed on his hand. This is a spirit power fire crystal. Yi Chen was shocked. Spirit power fire crystals and spirit power crystal stones were two different things, but they had the same effect, which was the power to train the spirit body. The difference was that spirit power crystal stones came from Sea of Souls realm warriors and Life and Death realm warriors, while the spirit power fire crystal was a natural product, which was very rare. Unfortunately, it is only a low-level spirit power fire crystal. Low-level spirit power fire crystals were only effective for rank 1 and 2 spirit bodies, while mid-level spirit power fire crystals were effective for rank 3 and 4 spirit bodies. High-level spirit power fire crystals were effective for rank 5 and 6 spirit bodies. Right now, Yi Chen was only at rank 5 spirit body. If he wanted to train his spirit body, he would have to get high-level spirit power fire crystals. Of course, Yi Chen would not be able to use them, but Yi Chen's parents could, since they were both at rank 2 spirit bodies. Putting away the spirit power fire crystal, Yi Chen kept walking forward with anticipation. Another one! There is one here as well. Within half a day, Yi Chen had gotten 7 spirit power fire crystals, 6 of which were low level and 1 of which was mid-level. Yi Chen now understood why so many people had entered this life planet. It was because of some special reason that this life planet had started to produce spirit power fire crystals, which was a rare opportunity. Life and death realm warriors who did not train their body would have a hard time training their spirit body. They would have to rely on external things to train it, and it was the same for Yi Chen. Chapter 1154. The lava tunnel was connected in all directions, and it was 100 times more complicated than the most complicated maze. Hundreds of thousands of experts of various races were walking inside. Some were alone, like Yi Chen, some were in groups, obviously friends, and some were a well-disciplined army. Fortunately, the lava tunnel was very wide, and it didn't seem too crowded. In one of the lava tunnels, a 5,000-strong evil spirit army was advancing. Leader, why do I feel that the temperature is rising and the airflow seems to be speeding up? A person beside the evil spirit leader said. Perhaps they're going deeper and deeper into the desolate planet. This life planet was called Desolate Planet, and it was a fire-attributed planet. Leader, do you think it's the Parish firestorm? Don't jinx it. How can a Parish firestorm appear so easily? It usually only appears once every few decades. The last time was more than a decade ago, which is still a long time ago. The Parish firestorm was the most frightening disaster on Desolate Planet. Once it appeared, anyone below the 7th layer of life and death realm would be in danger. However, the Parish firestorm did not appear often. According to the pattern, it would appear once every few decades. As for the reason for its appearance, it was related to the planet's energy exhaustion. Every time a Parish firestorm occurred, the planet's energy would weaken by a bit. After flying for dozens of li, a dazzling spark suddenly flashed on the evil spirit leader's protective evil power. At the same time, the airflow in the lava tunnel crazily accelerated. Fuck, it's really the Parish firestorm. Retreat. The evil spirit leader let out a mournful scream and turned around to flee. When the others heard the words Parish firestorm, their minds went blank. Parish firestorm, it was actually the Parish firestorm. Didn't they say that it only appeared once every few decades? It had only been a decade or so since the last one. They were a beat slower in their days. Only when the evil spirit leader and the others disappeared without a trace did they react. Immediately, ghostly wails and wolf howls rang out. Thousands of people were like bees in a nest, exploding with their speed to the limit. Some even used secret arts that would damage their cultivation base just to increase their speed a bit. The ghostly wails and wolf howls were not limited to this place. As long as one entered the desolate planet, who would not be afraid of the Parish firestorm? After all, there were not many who had reached the 7th layer of life and death realm. What's the situation? Compared to before, the airflow in the lava channel was several hundred times faster, and it was still increasing. With every breath, there would be a new change. After several breaths, the airflow had surged 1,000 times faster than before. Not only that, but on the surface of Yi Chen's protective Zhen Yuan, sparks were flying everywhere. It was as if his protective Zhen Yuan had been ignited. Not daring to be negligent, Yi Chen instantly stimulated the power of the Iron Blood Deep Blue set. The set light combined with his protective Zhen Yuan, making him impregnable. Chi. 2,000 times. 3,000 times. 5,000 times. 6,000 times. 8,000 times. 10,000 times. Soon, the speed of the airflow reached an astonishing 10,000 times. Coupled with the frighteningly high temperature, it could melt almost any metal material. Yi Chen estimated that this high-temperature airflow could most likely kill a first-layer life and death realm heavenly king, and even a second-layer life and death realm king would not be able to hold on for long. I'm afraid this is just the prelude. The high-temperature airflow was not scary. What was scary was the disaster that followed. Yi Chen could vaguely feel that the entire planet was shaking. Boom. This guess didn't last long, and it quickly came true. From the center of the desolate planet, an extremely frightening black-red energy erupted. Since this energy wasn't powerful enough to tear the planet apart, it urgently needed to vent. Therefore, the lava channel became the best outlet. Compared to the high-temperature airflow, the black-red energy surged at an astonishing speed, causing the entire planet to shake and rumble. Ah! Miserable screams resounded without end. The life and death kings who were relatively close to the center could only let out a scream before they were ignited and turned into ashes. Under the wash of the black-red energy, unless one escaped from the desolate planet, they could only passively endure. If they couldn't, they would naturally perish. Run! Run! The kings who had just entered regretted so much that their intestines turned green. Why didn't they come a bit later? Why were they so unlucky to run into the fallen fire storm? They didn't want to die. Their lives had just begun, and only a fraction of their 100,000 years had passed. There's actually such a frightening energy storm. Yi Chen crossed his arms in front of him, but his body was still pushed back by the black-red energy. His Zhen Yuan flowed out like water, unceasingly replenishing his protective Zhen Yuan. Even Yi Chen found it so difficult to resist, let alone others. The first to die were the kings with cultivation base lower than 4th layer. Before the fallen firestorm, they were nothing but cannon fodder. The black-red energy first tore apart their protective Zhen Yuan, then turned their bodies into ashes. From start to finish, they didn't have any leeway to resist. Soon after, some 5th-layer life and death kings died. They were different from Yi Chen. Yi Chen had the Iron Blood Deep Blue set, as well as the mid-5th-layer sword domain. In terms of defense, they were much weaker than Yi Chen. Finally, it was the turn of the 6th-layer life and death kings. The majority of 6th-layer life and death realm heavenly kings were very ordinary. They didn't have heavenly king grade suits, nor did they have powerful domains. They could only rely on their higher cultivation base to resist. Unfortunately, in front of the meteor firestorm, only 7th-layer life and death realm cultivation base could do anything. Looking from the outside, the entire desolate planet seemed incomparably majestic. Tens of thousands of li-thick black-red energy pillars erupted one after another, reaching hundreds of millions of li away. It looked like a huge hedgehog or a glowing hornet's nest. However, this hornet's nest was a bit too big. After about 20 breaths of time, the fallen firestorm gradually weakened. Of the hundreds of thousands of kings, less than 100 survived. The death rate was over 99%, no, 999%. Huff! Letting out a deep breath, Yi Chen uncrossed his arms. In a short period of time, he had consumed 30% of his Zhen Yuan. It was more intense than a battle of several thousand rounds. Fortunately, there was no mishap in the end. The black-red energy wasn't enough to tear apart his defense. In another lava passage, a beautiful woman wearing a fiery feather robe also lowered her slender right hand that was blocking the fallen firestorm. Her expression was calm, but the aura leaking from her body was incomparably fiery, as if she herself was a fiery energy body. The second fallen firestorm in a dozen years. Seems like the desolate planet has entered a true energy exhaustion period. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Yi Chen suddenly discovered that the number of sparks had increased. Every now and then there would be a fire crystal. Before long, Yi Chen had obtained 24 fire crystals, 18 of which were low-grade, and 6 of which were mid-grade. Could it be that the energy storm brought the fire crystals out? Yi Chen guessed. Yi Chen's guess was right. The fire crystals did come from the center of the desolate planet. Every time there was a fallen firestorm, there would be a large amount of fire crystals spewing out. As he went deeper, Yi Chen obtained more and more fire crystals. In the beginning, there were more low-grade fire crystals, and then there were more mid-grade fire crystals. After 2 hours, Yi Chen had obtained a total of 150 low-grade fire crystals and 120 mid-grade fire crystals. Unfortunately, he hadn't found a single high-grade fire crystal yet. Fire crystals were divided into 3 grades: low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade. Fire crystals were divided into 9 grades, and high-grade fire crystals were equivalent to grade 5 or grade 6 ones. If he could obtain one, it would be extremely useful for Yi Chen. If he could obtain 10 or more, he might be able to help Yi Chen break through to a grade 6 spirit body. As for the spirit crystals, they were too rare. If one had a grade 1 spirit body when they were alive, only grade 1 spirit crystals would form in their bones after death, and it would take a long time. For example, if Yi Chen's body wasn't destroyed, his bones would only form grade 5 spirit crystals after death. There was no way he could form grade 6 spirit crystals. However, other than body refiners, how many people could have a spirit body above grade 6? And the prerequisite was that their bodies weren't destroyed? Of course, there were some treasures that could refine the spirit body, such as the blood crystal flower, the blood demon crystal, and the extremely rare sky demon fire spirit fruit. Unknowingly, Yi Chen had arrived at the depths of desolate planet. This was a huge lava space. In the center of the lava space, there was a lava pillar that was hundreds of meters thick, connected to the top. The surface of the lava pillar was shining with a fiery red light. This is? Yi Chen's eyes lit up. There were thousands of fire crystals on the lava pillar. His previous harvest paled in comparison to the fire crystals on the lava pillar. Most importantly, there were dozens of extremely powerful fire crystals. They were clearly high-grade fire crystals. The heavens are really kind to me, the Green Demon Emperor. Dozens of fire crystals are enough to upgrade my spirit body from early grade 6 to mid-grade 6. From the third passage, a green-skinned titled monarch walked out. He was more than 3 meters tall and had thick muscles. He even had a crocodile-like tail behind him. Titled monarch of the green human race. Yi Chen looked over. Brat, if you leave now, I can spare your life. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave alive. The Green Demon Emperor released his aura and threatened. Childish. In an instant, Yi Chen spread out his sword domain and rushed toward the lava pillar. Bastard! The Green Demon Emperor's eyes were filled with killing intent as he also rushed over. Shwa! With a suction force, hundreds of fire crystals fell into Yi Chen's hand. But at the same time, the Green Demon Emperor had already closed in and slashed at his head. Boom! The energy exploded, and the lava pillar broke apart. The remaining fire crystals scattered in all directions, hitting the walls of the lava space and making puffing sounds. Collecting the fire crystals first is more important. Yi Chen didn't want to fight with the Green Demon Emperor for the time being. The shock waves from their battle might destroy this space, and it would be difficult to collect fire crystals. Chapter 1155. I'll spare your life for now. The Green Demon Emperor could also see the destruction caused by the aftermath of the battle. After this battle, not even a single fire crystal could be seen. Instead of that, it was better to collect fire crystals first. After collecting all the fire crystals, he would kill Yi Chen and seize his wealth and crystals. With their abilities, collecting fire crystals was naturally very fast. In less than half an hour, all the fire crystals had been collected. Yi Chen obtained 28 high-level fire crystals, 980 mid-level fire crystals, and more than 1,000 low-level fire crystals, totaling more than 1,500. The Green Demon Emperor, on the other hand, had much less than Yi Chen. He only obtained 12 high-level fire crystals, more than 300 mid-level fire crystals, and more than 500 low-level fire crystals. Brat, spit out the fire crystals, and I can show mercy and leave your corpse intact." The Green Demon Emperor's pair of green eyes stared at Yi Chen. As a 3-star general, the Green Demon Emperor had a mid-level Emperor-grade armor and a low-level Emperor-grade weapon. Although his strength couldn't compare to a 4-star general, it would still be difficult for a 4-star general to kill him. In terms of difficulty, a general's promotion was definitely more difficult than a purple gold commander's. A purple gold commander's combat strength was high enough, but if a general wanted to promote, they would have to step over the corpses of other generals to succeed. However, sometimes, even if the difference in combat strength was 10 times or even tens of times higher, they might not be able to kill the other. After all, which general didn't have an Emperor-grade armor? "I'll return those words to you." Yi Chen didn't take the other party seriously. At his level, even a 4-star general could only defeat him at most. They wouldn't be able to cause too much damage to him. Courting death. With a flick of his tail, the Green Demon Emperor appeared in front of Yi Chen like a ghost. A thick green palm slashed towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen unsheathed his sword and blocked this attack. Pung! A shock wave spread out, causing cracks to appear in the lava space. There's something going on. The Green Demon Emperor was somewhat astonished. Yi Chen's cultivation base was at the 5th layer of life and death realm, which was 2 whole heavens lower than him. Normally speaking, the difference in Zhen Yuan between a 5th layer and a 7th layer was 1,000 times. Of course, this was the sum of Zhen Yuan quantity and quality. It's not over yet? His body suddenly spun in the air as the Green Demon Emperor's thick tail swept over. The tip of the tail contained a green light. Obviously, the Green Demon Emperor had concentrated a large amount of his Zhen Yuan there. Although the Green Demon Emperor's movement was as fast as lightning, without the slightest gap, unfortunately, he was facing Yi Chen. In a battle, Yi Chen would never give his enemies any chance to take advantage of him. Shoo! Yi Chen quickly retreated, dodging the Green Demon Emperor's attack. Then, he used the sword domain's condensing power to eliminate the retreating force and changed it into a forward force. Right at this moment, the Green Demon Emperor was in the midst of using up all of his energy. Shoo! The dragon spring sword drew a bright beam of light in the air, piercing towards the Green Demon Emperor's throat. Not good! The Green Demon Emperor didn't expect Yi Chen to attack so quickly. Having miscalculated, he hastily crossed his arms and blocked Yi Chen's sword. Sparks flew everywhere as the Green Demon Emperor's body was blasted back, crashing through several rock walls. It's a mid-grade Emperor-grade armor. Yi Chen shook his head helplessly. If the Green Demon Emperor's armor was a low-grade Emperor-grade, he would have had the confidence to kill him. But now it was even more difficult than before. After all, every time an Emperor-grade armor's grade increased, its defensive power would greatly increase. After being weakened by the Emperor-grade armor, the true destructive power transmitted to the Green Demon Emperor's body was limited. Not wanting to waste any more time, Yi Chen gave up on the battle and turned to leave. Want to leave? Not so easy. The Green Demon Emperor flew into a rage out of humiliation. In any case, he was a 3-star general of the Green Men race. Yet, he was beaten black and blue by a mere 5th-layer life and death king. How could he not feel angry and humiliated? Roar! With a loud roar, the Green Demon Emperor raised his right hand, and a dark green light sphere condensed in his palm. As the light sphere became more and more solid, a character appeared within it. This character was the character of the Green Men race, Exterminate. Go die! His right hand fiercely pushed forward, and the light sphere shot out at a speed that was hundreds and thousands of times faster. Even from far away, Yi Chen could feel the intense destructive power. Third Revolution Martial Skill. Yi Chen was not surprised that the Green Demon Emperor could use a Third Revolution martial skill. Under normal circumstances, any titled monarch could create a Third Revolution martial skill. It should be known that the higher one's cultivation base was, the higher one's comprehension would be. This was similar to the height one was at. If it were a 9th layer life and death king, they would be able to create a 3rd or 4th revolution martial skill in an instant. This was because their height was so high that they could already see through the mysteries of martial skills. Not daring to be negligent, Yi Chen used extreme sun essence transformation to meet the attack head-on. The sword chi was countless times more dazzling than any sunlight. It was like the first ray of light since the creation of the world, colliding with the dark green light sphere. Crack! Without any suspense, the dark green light sphere only lasted for a split second before it was cleaved apart by the sword chi. The sword chi's momentum didn't dissipate as it continued on its path toward the Green Demon Emperor. Impossible! The Green Demon Emperor had been shocked too many times today. In his eyes, Yi Chen's battle strength was simply inconceivable. He had never seen a 5th layer life and death king with such battle strength. Bang! Rays of light exploded, and the Green Demon Emperor was once again blasted away. He flipped several times in the air, and a trace of blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. Although the armor was powerful, it couldn't block all attacks. Green Demon Emperor, you are not my opponent. If not for your armor, today would be the day of your death. Yi Chen's voice came from afar as he left. Damn it! The Green Demon Emperor's face turned ashen, and his eyes were filled with a cold, killing intent. This kid is a freak. Next time I see him, I'll definitely kill him without leaving any future troubles. The Green Man race and the human race were also mortal enemies. The appearance of a frightening genius in the human race was not a good thing for his race. Swish! With a flicker, the Green Demon Emperor entered another lava passage. 28 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals should be enough to upgrade my spirit body to the 6th step. Looking for a slightly smaller lava space, Yi Chen stopped and flipped his hand. 28 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals appeared in his palm. When he was in Elysium, Yi Chen's spirit body had already reached the late 5th step. After leaving Elysium, his spirit body had made some progress, reaching the peak of the 5th step. However, he was not a body-refining king. Although he could upgrade his spirit body slightly, upgrading it to the next step was extremely difficult. Without treasures, it was basically impossible. Peak 5th step spirit body and 6th step spirit body didn't seem to have much difference, but the significance was completely different. Once the spirit body reached the 6th step, not only would the physical body's defense be stronger, but it would also have the ability to absorb damage. For example, the opponent could make you vomit blood with a single palm, but with a 6th step spirit body, it would be many times more difficult for the opponent to injure you. The majority of Monarch's spirit bodies were the same as Yi Chen's, peak 5th step, unless they had treasures that could temper their spirit body. However, such treasures were too difficult to find. So far, the one with the highest spirit body that Yi Chen had seen was Peerless King Audiobook. In the divine trial field, Audiobook had revealed his spirit body to be at the late 6th step. Of course, Yi Chen also had the 7th step Immortal Sword intent. With the Immortal Sword intent protecting him, Yi Chen's pure defense was stronger than a late 6th step spirit body, equivalent to a peak 6th step spirit body. If his spirit body also reached the 6th step, it would undoubtedly be like adding wings to a tiger. Putting away the 24 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, Yi Chen held 2 in each hand and sat down cross-legged, preparing to absorb the energy from the fire crystals to temper his spirit body. Gurgle! The energy in the high-grade spirit energy fire crystals was too majestic. For scorching currents flowed through the Laogong meridian on his palm and entered his body, rapidly tempering his flesh and bones, changing his physique. When he finished absorbing the energy from the 4 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, a layer of scarlet flame appeared on the surface of Yi Chen's body. This was a sign that his blood and qi were too vigorous. Without wasting any time, Yi Chen took out another 4 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, 12, 16. By the time he had consumed 16 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals, Yi Chen's body had undergone earth-shaking changes. As his flesh and bones wriggled, a violent qualitative change occurred. It was as if he had turned from an infant to a child. His appetite increased greatly, crazily absorbing the energy from the fire crystals to strengthen his body. Not only that, his flesh and bones also contained the power of decomposition. Much of Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan had been decomposed. Fortunately, after a period of time, his flesh and bones had familiarized themselves with the Zhen Yuan and no longer decomposed. So, the sixth-step spirit body doesn't absorb damage. Instead, it first absorbs and then decomposes. At this moment, Yi Chen had finally upgraded his spirit body to the early sixth step. He had also understood the profoundness of the sixth-step spirit body. Compared to the fifth-step spirit body, the sixth-step spirit body no longer passively received damage. Instead, it absorbed the damage and decomposed it. As the saying went, there was no such thing as the strongest defense, but there was always the strongest defensive method. ZZZ. As soon as the sixth-step spirit body was formed, Yi Chen's vitality field immediately erupted. Earth, water, fire, wind, and lightning flashed in the lava space, making Yi Chen look like a god. Gradually withdrawing his vitality field and blood and qi, Yi Chen stood up. Why do I feel a little empty? He punched out, creating a gust of wind. A few cracks appeared in the lava space. However, Yi Chen felt a little empty and was in a hurry to replenish his energy. Could it be that the sixth-step spirit body can stimulate cultivation? Yi Chen guessed inwardly. Yi Chen's guess was both wrong and wrong. It was not that the sixth-step spirit body could stimulate cultivation, but that the higher the spirit body's rank, the greater the thirst for cultivation. Thus, the body naturally reacted. The reason why body-refining kings could dominate the world and occupy important positions was closely related to their spirit bodies. It was said that the ninth-step spirit bodies of life and death supremes could be called undying body. This was a physical power that was millions of times more frightening than the undying body. It was simply unbreakable, and even injuring it would be difficult. Of course, body-refining supremes were much weaker than other supremes in terms of domains. There were gains and losses. There are still 12 high-grade spirit energy fire crystals left. I wonder if I can upgrade my spirit body to mid-sixth step? Forget it, let's wait until the sixth-step spirit body stabilizes first. I don't want to waste them. As this thought flashed through his mind, Yi Chen continued deeper into Desolate Planet. Chapter 1156. There was a huge battle here. After walking for a while, Yi Chen realized that a lot of lava tunnels had collapsed, and the traces of battle were very obvious. Boom! He threw out a sword attack, and the powerful sword qi pierced through the no-way-out tunnel. Yi Chen's body flashed as he flew over. Run! There are fire crystal beasts in front of us. After flying for a while, a couple of human figures flew over. Yi Chen could tell that they were all humans, and they looked very scared. What happened? Yi Chen hurried to ask. It's a fire crystal beast. A lot of people have already been killed by it. The one flying in the front replied. Fire crystal beast? Yi Chen frowned. He had never heard about it before. However, these people were all at the sixth sky of life and death realm, and they were not weak at all. Judging from this, the fire crystal beasts should be even more powerful and horrifying. Let's go. If we don't go now, we won't be able to even if we want to. The few of them brushed past Yi Chen. Seeing that Yi Chen did not plan to run, one of them could not help but remind Yi Chen. If the fire crystal beasts you are talking about are red crystal beasts, then we will not be able to escape anymore. Within Yi Chen's soul power perception, there were a total of 5 red crystal beasts surrounding them. 2 of them were at the back, forming a triangle, while 3 of them were at the front, forming a triangle. These fire crystal beasts seemed to be able to see them, since they were heading straight for them. What? The few of them were shocked. Roar. Boom. At this moment, the roars of beasts came from behind. Then, the lava tunnel collapsed, and two red monsters appeared in front of everyone. These two monsters were 5 meters tall and more than 10 meters long. Their bodies were like lions and tigers, and their bodies were made of red crystals. The red crystals were similar to psionic crystals, but they were not as pure as psionic crystals. They seemed to be mixed with other crystals and metals. Flames were spitting out of their nostrils and mouth. They were incomparably hot, even hotter than magma. What surprised Yi Chen the most was that their eyes were actually two high-level fire crystals of spiritual energy. Their color was much deeper than the rest of their body parts. They were fiery red and emitting faint flames. The aura they were emitting was clearly the aura of fire crystals of spiritual energy. Of course, it was thousands of times more intense. Is it made of raw spiritual energy fire crystals? According to the fire crystal beast's aura, color, and eyes, Yi Chen instantly determined that the fire crystal beast should be a spirit energy fire crystal life form. Yuan Qi could become life, and it was also possible for it to become an object. After all, everything in the world was actually formed from Yuan Qi. What should we do? The few of them were at a loss. They were very clear that even 10 of them would not be a match for the fire crystal beast. For them, the fire crystal beast was a monster that was not afraid of attacks. Before the first wave subsided, another wave arose. The stone walls on the left and right suddenly cracked, and 7 or 8 figures rushed over. There were evil spirit race, demons, and Yiksha race. Behind them, there were also a few fire crystal beasts, and they were roaring angrily. This was not the end. In front of Yi Chen, the 3 fire crystal beasts also rushed over. This way, including Yi Chen, there were a total of 12 people. 4 of them were humans, and 8 of them were alien races. 9 fire crystal beasts surrounded them. These 9 fire crystal beasts did not attack directly. Instead, they looked at each other and glared at each other. Quick, the 4 of you, rush up. Since they had the advantage in numbers, one of the demons ordered Yi Chen and the other 3 to rush up. Dream on! Why should we rush up? On Yi Chen's side, the 3 were enraged. If you don't want to rush up, I will kill you now. At this juncture of life and death, the other party's killing intent was not concealed at all. Roar! Seeing that everyone was fighting among themselves, the fire crystal beasts seemed to have a tacit understanding. They attacked at the same time, and the 9 fire crystal beasts pounced over. The first to die was an evil spirit race warrior. His attack landed on the fire crystal beast's body, but the latter was not hurt at all. It opened its mouth and bit down on his body before swallowing him whole. The speed of its bite was so fast that it was like a lightning strike. Yi Chen frowned as he watched. The other fire crystal beast was in the air. It slapped away the spear of a Yiksha with one claw and grabbed the Yiksha's head with the other. Bang! The Yiksha's head exploded like a watermelon. The next moment, the fire crystal beast opened its mouth and sucked the Yiksha in. On Yi Chen's side, one of them died instantly. The fire crystal beast was invulnerable, and all attacks were useless against it. It was also extremely fast, and it was very difficult to dodge its attacks. The situation was one-sided. In the blink of an eye, only 7 of the 12 people were left. Run! Why would there be fire crystal beasts on desolate Mars? These monsters are invulnerable, and they are not afraid of soul attacks. The fierce battle made the survivors lose their will to fight. They all ran away crazily. Even when the fire crystal beasts pounced at them, they had no intention of blocking them. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was to run as far as possible. If they could run out of desolate Mars, they would be saved. What a fast attack speed! There were 3 fire crystal beasts attacking Yi Chen. If there was only one, Yi Chen would have wanted to fight it head-on. However, there were 3. Yi Chen could see that the fire crystal beasts had no weaknesses. He would not have any advantage if he fought them head-on. Fortunately, he had the instant sword domain, so Yi Chen could easily dodge and pass through the gaps between the 3 fire crystal beasts. Apart from the 3 fire crystal beasts that had their eyes on Yi Chen, the other fire crystal beasts chased after the other 6. Screams rang out as 4 more people were eaten by the fire crystal beast. The remaining 2 were also in grave danger. On desolate Mars, their speed was not as fast as the fire crystal beast. If it were not for the fire crystal beasts fighting for food, these 2 would have been dead already. Run this way. The 2 survivors were the titled kings of the demons and the titled kings of the Yiksha race. Judging from their strength, they were at the level of 1-star generals. Unfortunately, they were still not a match for the fire crystal beasts. Seeing that Yi Chen had just dodged the attacks of the 3 fire crystal beasts, they wanted to make Yi Chen the scapegoat. Courting death. A cold light flashed across Yi Chen's eyes. Ignoring the 3 fire crystal beasts, Yi Chen gripped the dragon's spring sword with both hands and raised it high. In the next moment, a dazzling sword chi slashed out. It was the extreme sun essence. Puff, puff. Of the 2 1-star generals, one had a low-grade Emperor-grade armor, while the other had a low-grade Emperor-grade weapon. The eyes of the titled king of the Yiksha race with the low-grade Emperor-grade weapon widened, as if he didn't expect Yi Chen to be so powerful. He opened his mouth to shout, but before he could make a sound, he was killed by the sword chi and turned into ashes. The other one didn't fare any better. His whole body was sent flying, crashing into a fire crystal beast. This fire crystal beast skillfully turned its head, bit him, and swallowed him. Damn it! Seeing the fire crystal beast swallow the opponent's body, Yi Chen couldn't help but feel annoyed inwardly. 1-star general badge could allow him to purchase a low-grade Emperor-grade artifact, which was extremely valuable. If not for the fire crystal beast, he would have been completely confident in killing the opponent and snatching the badge. Fortunately, he still had another 1-star general badge. Otherwise, he would have suffered a great loss. With a suction force from his left hand, a badge, a low-grade Emperor-grade weapon, and a storage ring fell into Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen stored them in his own storage ring. Roar! Right at this moment, the 3 fire crystal beasts launched their second attack at Yi Chen. The 3 beasts cooperated with each other tacitly. One ran from below, one pounced from above, and the last launched a fierce attack from the right. Top, middle, and bottom were all blocked, leaving Yi Chen with nowhere to run or hide. Of course, this was for others. In an instant, the sword domain reached its limit. The space distorted, and the 3 beasts' movements paused for a moment. I'd like to see if I really can't injure you. Swish, swish, swish. Crazily arousing his Jin Yuan, Yi Chen slashed out 3 times in a row. All 3 sword strikes were Sun Essence Extreme Transformation. Of course, this kind of killing moves would be weakened if it was used consecutively, perhaps only at 70 to 80%. However, it was enough to probe the opponent. If 70 to 80% of Sun Essence Extreme Transformation couldn't injure the opponent, then even 100% wouldn't have much of an effect. Poochie! The dazzling sword chi slashed on the fire crystal beast's body. Immediately, cracks appeared on its body. Obviously, 70 to 80% of Sun Essence Extreme Transformation's power could injure the fire crystal beast, although it wasn't fatal. It is indeed effective. Take another sword attack from me. Flying backward, Yi Chen continued to slash out another powerful sword attack. This time, he used 100% of his power, aiming at the fire crystal beast in the middle. Puff! The fire crystal beast's head was cut off. Come here. With a suction force, the fire crystal beast's head involuntarily flew into Yi Chen's hand. You want to bite me? Yi Chen was extremely cautious. He avoided the fire crystal beast's mouth and grabbed its horn. The fire crystal beast's head struggled intensely, but it only had one head left. How could it be Yi Chen's opponent? It couldn't break free at all. Crack! Yi Chen instantly dug out its 2 eyes, high-rank spirit energy fire crystal. Immediately, the fire crystal beast's struggle became weaker. It seemed like its eyes contained a huge amount of energy. Without its eyes, its energy was greatly reduced, and it was getting weaker and weaker. Its eyes are its weak point. Yi Chen understood. After losing its head, the fire crystal beast did not fall down. Instead, flames curled around its neck, and a red light burst out. The next moment, a new head grew out, and 2 high-rank spirit energy fire crystals condensed in its eyes. Yi Chen carefully observed that the fire crystal beast's aura had weakened, and its body was also slightly smaller. Roar! 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 The 12 fire crystal beasts surrounded Yi Chen tightly, each of them preparing to pounce on him. Go! Yi Chen fiercely stomped on the ground, and his whole body shot up into the sky. With a loud boom, the rock wall above his head was blasted away, and Yi Chen escaped to the top. Using all of his strength, he was still unable to kill a single fire crystal beast. Yi Chen had no choice but to give up. If there were only 3 fire crystal beasts, he might have given it his all. Yi Chen's escape had completely enraged the 12 fire crystal beasts, and they crazily chased after him. Let's leave this life planet first. The next time I come, I must equip myself with an Emperor-grade weapon. Yi Chen had killed a 1-star purple gold rank commander and a 1-star general. His battle results were plentiful. When he returned, he could purchase 2 Emperor-grade weapons. Only with an Emperor-grade weapon would his battle power reach a new level. Chapter 1157. After the firestorm, there were less than 100 life and death realm warriors left. But now, with the appearance of the fire crystal beasts, the number of survivors had dropped drastically. Within a short period of time, there were not even 10 left. The others were all running for their lives. Some of them were no weaker than Yi Chen, and 2 of them were even more powerful than Yi Chen. One of them was the Skeleton Ocean Emperor of the Yeksha race, and the other was the Dark Dragon Emperor of the Demons. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor was a 4-star general of the Yeksha race, while the Dark Dragon Emperor was a 5-star general of the Demons. These fire crystal beasts are too much to kill. I should run for my life first. The Skeletal Ocean Emperor's strength was extremely tyrannical. Every spear in his hand would inevitably pierce through a fire crystal beast. Unfortunately, the fire crystal beast that was pierced was completely unharmed except for a slightly weaker aura. Even if the Skeletal Ocean Emperor used all of his strength, it would still be very difficult to kill a fire crystal beast. At most, he could only make the other party extremely weak. However, there were so many fire crystal beasts that after killing one, 10 would immediately come. By the time he killed 10, he would probably be surrounded by 100. Even if he was a 4-star general, it was impossible for him to face 100 fire crystal beasts. He would definitely die, so he desperately ran away. Wherever there were fewer fire crystal beasts, he would run. If he encountered any obstruction, he would directly attack with his spear. For a moment it was peaceful, but he had a faint bad feeling. How come there are so many fire crystal beasts? The Skeleton Sea Emperor, who was flying forward, felt his hair stand on end. In front of him was a dense horde of fire crystal beasts. At a rough glance, there were at least 300 of them. The leading fire crystal beast was much smaller than the other fire crystal beasts. It was about 2 meters tall and 6 meters long, but its aura was 10 times stronger than the other fire crystal beast. I can't beat it with force. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor hurried to turn around and run in the opposite direction. In another direction, huge explosions were heard. The Dark Dragon Emperor was unbelievably powerful. His dragon claw art was almost indestructible. Normal fire crystal beasts would be torn apart with one claw attack, causing their aura to drop by 10 times. If Yi Chen were in front of him, he might not even be able to handle one claw attack. The Dark Dragon Emperor's true form was that of a huge black dragon. Even if she didn't cultivate, she would still become a life and death realm warrior when the time came, just like Su Jing. Of course, back then, Su Jing had been sealed into a human in the early stages. Only in the later stages did she enter the dragonization pool and gradually transform into a real golden giant dragon. The dark dragon power all over his body made the dark dragon emperor's attack power unparalleled and defense invincible. In addition, he was a 5-star general of the demons. He had a top-notch overlord armor and a low-level emperor weapon. Seriously speaking, most 5-star generals were no match for the Dark Dragon Emperor. His body was too powerful. Haha, die. The Dark Dragon Emperor had no qualms about killing his way out. Along the way, the fire crystal beasts in his way were torn apart. Although the fire crystal beasts wouldn't die after being torn apart and would reform, their auras would weaken once they were attacked. With the Dark Dragon Emperor's battle strength, a single attack was enough to make a fire crystal beast lose its threat. 30, 50, 70. In a short period of time, 70 fire crystal beasts had been torn apart. Dark Dragon Emperor had also collected many fire crystal beast shards. These fire crystal beast shards were filled with fire crystal energy. They could be considered as thin high-grade fire crystal energy. With enough of them, they were equivalent to high-grade fire crystals. Haha, come on. The Dark Dragon Emperor was very confident in his battle power, so he didn't try to escape. Wherever there were more fire crystal beasts, he would charge toward them. All of a sudden, he was unstoppable. All of a sudden, a fiery red light shot toward the Dark Dragon Emperor. Boom! There was a huge explosion, and the Dark Dragon Emperor took a few steps back. In front of it was a much smaller and darker fire crystal beast. The fire crystal beast was more than 2 meters tall and 6 meters long, but its battle strength was dozens of times stronger than ordinary fire crystal beasts. Oh, interesting! The Dark Dragon Emperor stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, looking very excited. The darker-colored fire crystal beast stared at the Dark Dragon Emperor. Although it didn't have much intelligence, it could feel that the enemy in front of it was not easy to deal with. Roar! The fire crystal beast roared into the sky. The roar spread far and wide. Some of the smaller fire crystal beasts followed the sound and rushed over. They were extremely fast, looking like beams of fiery red light. Soon, 7 petite, fire crystal beasts surrounded the Dark Dragon Emperor. Do you think that you can kill me with numbers? In your dreams. The Dark Dragon Emperor was not afraid at all. Instead, he looked at the 7 smaller fire crystal beasts with interest. His battle power had already surpassed the 7th sky of life and death realm, reaching the 8th sky of life and death realm. Although his cultivation base was only at the 7th sky of life and death realm. The title of an 8th sky of life and death realm monarch could carry the word emperor. Of course, the Dark Dragon Emperor was not an emperor, but he was a battle emperor, which was 1 level higher than a battle emperor. Normally, a 4-star general would have the battle power of a low-level battle emperor, and a 5-star general would have the battle power of a mid-level battle emperor. The Dark Dragon Emperor was slightly weaker than a high-level battle emperor, but he was definitely a top warrior among the mid-level battle emperors. A great battle broke out in an instant. The Dark Dragon Emperor and the 7 smaller fire crystal beasts started fighting. Crack! The Dark Dragon Emperor's claw speed was extremely fast. He waved his claw 3 times, leaving deep claw marks on the bodies of 3 fire crystal beasts. One of the fire crystal beast's front legs had been broken, and its body was sliding on the ground. Of course, the Dark Dragon Emperor had also been hit 4 times. His back, chest, and shoulders were all covered in burning sparks. The Dark Dragon Emperor fell to the ground and rolled on the ground. Suddenly crawling up, the Dark Dragon Emperor patted the dark red liquid on his body and laughed. Not enough, again. With the Dark Dragon's defense and the top Emperor rank armor, the Dark Dragon Emperor was not afraid of these 7 fire crystal beasts. His only shortcoming was his soul defense. Of course, this was only relative to his rank. How many fire crystal beasts are there? While escaping, Yi Chen opened his soul eyes and scanned the surroundings. This scan shocked him. Within the range of his soul eyes, there were red dots everywhere. With a rough glance, there were thousands of them. The entire barren planet seemed to be occupied by the fire crystal beasts. Some of the red dots were even more dazzling. He was afraid that they were even more powerful and horrifying than the fire crystal beasts he saw. There is a gap here. With the soul eyes, Yi Chen easily found a weak spot with fewer fire crystal beasts. His body stretched, Yi Chen's speed exploded to the limit. Roar! 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 The 12 fire crystal beasts followed closely behind Yi Chen. Their speed was only a little bit slower than Yi Chen's. In a short time, Yi Chen would not be able to shake them off. Not only that, as the 12 fire crystal beasts roared, the path that Yi Chen had chosen started to be surrounded by fire crystal beasts, as if they wanted to outflank Yi Chen. Not good. Yi Chen's face was extremely ugly. The path that he had thought to be a weak spot was now a dead end. There were at least 10 fire crystal beasts blocking the way. Where should I run? Yi Chen did not know what to do now. The fire crystal beasts could communicate with each other through their roars. Plus, they could see everything within a certain range. Yi Chen's soul eye had basically been destroyed. Even if he could see the escape route, it would still be a dead end in the next second. There was no way he could survive. I should not waste my soul power. Closing his soul eyes, Yi Chen replaced it with normal soul power. At this point, the more soul power he used, the less it would be. The soul eyes consumed too much soul power, not to mention that they did not have much use. Releasing his soul power, Yi Chen decided to take it one step at a time. He was not the kind of person who would give up easily. Screams continued. Including Yi Chen, there were a total of 9 people inside Planet Baron. However, it was obvious that those who were as strong as Yi Chen could not hold on any longer. One by one, they were swallowed into the fire crystal beast's stomach. Once they were swallowed, it was almost impossible for them to escape. After an hour, only Dark Dragon Emperor, Skeleton Ocean Emperor, and Yi Chen were left on the entire Planet Baron. Yi Chen had managed to hold on until now with his 4-star purple gold rank commander power. His ability to survive was self-evident. This time, it is really a narrow escape. There were more than 100 fire crystal beasts chasing after Yi Chen, looking like a red river. As time passed, more and more fire crystal beasts would join in. Alright, it has been a long time since I experienced a life and death battle. I would like to see if these fire crystal beasts can kill me. The more dangerous it was, the more it could stimulate Yi Chen's potential. Back in Elysium, he had been through hundreds of battles and often encountered life and death battles. However, after coming to the universe, he had encountered fewer life and death battles. Of course, he also knew that in the universe, life and death kings could live up to 100,000 years. It was impossible for them to encounter danger so easily. Some of them could even stay in seclusion for hundreds of years. However, Yi Chen had only stayed in seclusion for a dozen years. However, it was different for Yi Chen. He was used to life and death battles and was used to surviving in desperate situations. In the past dozen years of peace, he felt that he had made little progress. Yes, very little progress. Without the God Paradise, without the time ratio of 100 to 1 in the Tower of Time, he could not have such achievements. His current achievements were built up over time, which was nothing to be proud of. A true powerhouse, even if it was only a short time, would have shocking achievements. The change in his mentality had brought a qualitative change to Yi Chen. His chi turned sharp as if he had returned to the scene of struggling for survival. His blood boiled with endless fighting spirit. Shwa shwa. Like a bird that was not affected by any force, Yi Chen shuttled between the fire crystal beasts. Although he still had the same speed and technique, he now felt a sense of freedom. It was this freedom that allowed him to turn the impossible into the possible and escape from desperate situations. The fire crystal beasts had simple intelligence. They didn't know what had happened to Yi Chen. They only knew how to chase after him. There is someone ahead. Through his soul power, Yi Chen saw a human figure flying over. Judging from his qi, he should be a titled monarch of the Yiksha race. Very powerful. It should be a 4-star general. Yi Chen saw that the opponent could easily pierce through the fire crystal beasts with a single strike. Occasionally, he would even use a powerful attack to smash the fire crystal beasts in his way into pieces. Chapter 1158. The newcomer was none other than Skeleton Ocean Emperor. Skeleton Ocean Emperor possessed a high-grade Emperor-grade weapon and a mid-grade Emperor-grade armor. In terms of pure strength, he was not stronger than Yi Chen. Even if he was stronger, it would not be by much. However, the higher one's cultivation base, the higher the requirement for artifacts. With these 2 artifacts, Yi Chen's battle strength could never catch up. Kill! With a wave of his battle spear, a fire crystal beast was shattered into dozens of pieces. His killing move could instantly destroy ordinary fire crystal beasts, but it took a long time to charge up. After killing dozens of fire crystal beasts, Skeleton Ocean Emperor also saw Yi Chen. Strange, a mere 5th-layer life and Death King can actually live until now. So that's how it is. His sword domain has actually reached the mid-5th layer, and it even contains the power of space. No, he can actually reverse the sword domain and eliminate the useless force on his body. Skeleton Ocean Emperor's insight was brilliant. Logically speaking, even mid-5th layer sword domain couldn't do what Yi Chen was doing, turning the impossible into the possible. Upon closer inspection, Skeleton Ocean Emperor realized that Yi Chen was reversing sword domain and dissolving the useless force and inertia of his body. For example, if a person was advancing at full speed, it would be extremely difficult to make them retreat. Moreover, one would have to bear the combined force of both forward and backward, which would be a huge burden. However, Yi Chen had removed the forward force and only needed to add the backward force. This way, his dodging would naturally be unrestrained and unconstrained. Righteous sword domain affecting others. Reverse luck sword domain affecting oneself. Achieving this step was extremely difficult, and required extremely powerful comprehension and execution. Before, Yi Chen had only taken a small step, and it was still imperfect. Moreover, he had to rely on the power of space. But now Yi Chen could do it as he pleased, approaching perfection. Such a genius is a disaster if left alive. Since I've encountered him, I'll deal with him in passing. With this thought, Skeleton Ocean Emperor made his decision. Yi Chen knew that Skeleton Ocean Emperor was not a pushover. To be more precise, all titled monarchs of different races were not pushovers. Once they encountered each other, they would inevitably fight to the death. He wasn't a match for the Skeleton Ocean Emperor, and this place was filled with fire crystal beasts. It really wasn't the best place for a battle. Go! Making a turn in the air, Yi Chen flew in another direction. You want to leave? The Skeleton Sea Emperor sneered and followed closely behind Yi Chen. Rumble! The Skeleton Ocean Emperor and the fire crystal beasts behind Yi Chen converged. There were 500 of them, and 3 of them were petite. Yi Chen frowned when he saw the Skeleton Ocean Monarch following him. Clang! Unsheathing the dragon spring sword, Yi Chen turned around and hacked towards the Skeleton Sea Emperor. The sword chi released by the dragon's spring sword was as fierce as a raging fire, nearly merging with the air. The sword chi released by the dragon's spring sword seemed to be gentle and neutral, but in fact, it contained boundless potential. It was the true Inferno sword. Reckless. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor was infuriated. He hadn't expected that the other party would make a move on him before he had even made a move. This had undoubtedly infuriated him. Break for me. Raising his battle spear, the Skeleton Ocean Emperor's spear swept across the sword chi. The intense blue light instantly condensed into a huge spear shadow. With a loud bang, a shockwave spread out. A trace of blood leaked out from the corner of Yi Chen's mouth. His speed increased again, and he used the borrowed force to the extreme. On the other hand, the skeleton Ocean Emperor's face paled, and his speed slowed down. It turned out that the sword chi released by Yi Chen was extremely powerful. Being caught off guard, the skeleton Ocean Emperor suffered a hidden loss. Of course, there was a big gap between their battle power. Aside from the sharp decrease in speed, the skeleton Ocean Emperor was fine. However, with 500 fire crystal beasts following behind him, he was instantly surrounded. Piss off! Spear shadows shot out everywhere, and a large number of fire crystal beasts were thrown away. Even the 3 petite fire crystal beasts were forced back dozens of meters. As a 4-star general, the skeleton Ocean Emperor's battle power was unimaginable. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many fire crystal beasts on desolate Mars, the skeleton Ocean Emperor would have already fought his way out. Swoosh! Using this opportunity, the skeleton Ocean Emperor flashed out of the encirclement and chased after Yi Chen again. In terms of speed, he was slightly faster than Yi Chen, but he wasn't as nimble as his opponent. He's really persistent. Yi Chen wasn't afraid of the skeleton Ocean Emperor. If he couldn't beat him, couldn't he just run? However, the skeleton Sea Emperor's persistent pestering gave him a bad feeling. Go back. From far away, Yi Chen attacked the skeleton Ocean Emperor with another sword chi. Haha, do you think I'll fall for your trick again? The skeleton Ocean Emperor flapped his wings and soared into the sky. The sword chi swept past below him and slashed at a group of fire crystal beasts. As a monarch of the Yiksha race, the skeleton Ocean Emperor's speed was his forte. If it weren't for Yi Chen's equally astonishing speed, he would have caught up long ago. At such a distance, Yi Chen's sword chi couldn't touch him at all. He also didn't want to fight with Yi Chen from afar. After all, that would lower his speed. Just like that, Yi Chen flew in front and slashed behind him from time to time. The skeleton Ocean Emperor displayed his speed and dodged Yi Chen's sword chi. As for the fire crystal beasts behind them, they were a little unlucky. They were slashed by the sword chi. However, desolate Mars was the fire crystal beasts' territory, and the number of fire crystal beasts increased from 500 to 1,000. Now, even the skeleton Ocean Emperor was surrounded and couldn't escape. Swish! Right at this moment, the skeleton Ocean Emperor's speed suddenly increased. The wings on his back shone with a blue radiance as if they were made of blue crystals. This was the peak Emperor-grade secret art of the Yiksha race, light wings transformation. Upon reaching the highest realm, one could reach light speed. It should be known that light speed was a threshold. Even 7th layer life and death monarchs couldn't surpass light speed. They could at most approach it. Therefore, between 7th layer and 7th layer life and death monarchs, there wasn't much difference in speed. They were all very close to light speed or even infinitely close to it. Skeleton Ocean Emperor's normal speed was only a bit faster than Yi Chen's, and it wasn't very obvious. However, after using Light Wings transformation, his speed had increased by a lot. If he were in a vacuum, his speed would definitely reach light speed. Above light speed, there was no such thing as 2 or 3 times light speed. Above light speed was teleportation, which was the means of 8th layer life and death realm titled monarch. So fast! Yi Chen was startled. The wings on the skeleton Ocean Emperor's back had almost fused with the void. In this way, space wouldn't obstruct him, and his speed would reach a perfect realm. If my space profound reaches 90% completion, I'll most likely be able to move at light speed as well. Seeing this scene, Yi Chen recalled his own space profound. Space profound was unfathomable, and Yi Chen estimated that with 90% completion, he would be able to move at light speed, and with perfection, he would be able to teleport. At 8th layer life and death realm, his teleportation distance would be many times greater than others. 20 li, 10 li, 5 li, 3 li. 1 li. Soon, the distance between the two was reduced to 500 meters. This was a very short distance, and in a vacuum, it was completely negligible. Kid, stay here. The skeleton ocean emperor flipped his palm, and a black sphere appeared. With a swish, he threw the sphere at Yi Chen. What is this? Without any hesitation, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack onto the black ball. Pung! In the next moment, the black sphere exploded, releasing countless fine threads. There were so many of them that they seemed boundless. With a single point as the center, they scattered in every direction. Yi Chen, who was the closest to them, was immediately enveloped by countless threads. As for Skeleton Ocean Emperor, he soared into the sky. Only a few threads touched his body, but even so, he had to expend a great deal of effort to break free from their entanglement. Besides Yi Chen, the fire crystal beast that was following behind him was also caught by the strings. Not good! Yi Chen's speed suddenly slowed down, getting slower and slower. On his body, those thin strands had tightly wrapped around him. Waving his dragon spring sword, he could only cut off dozens of strands at most, which was completely useless. Haha, this 1,000-layer silk of mine cost me 10 million yuan stones. You should be proud of yourself for using it on you. 1,000-layer silk was a refined treasure. Its raw material was the silk of a kind of monarch spider. Monarch spider was not a demonic beast, but a cosmic beast like the star colossal beast. An adult monarch spider was incomparably frightening. Even 7th-layer life and death realm titled monarchs would have a slim chance of survival if they encountered one. Its silk could stick to anything, making it extremely difficult to struggle free. The reason why the Skeleton Ocean Emperor used 1,000-layer silk on Yi Chen was because Yi Chen's battle strength was at least at the level of a 4-star purple gold commander. Killing such a genius would be rewarded greatly. If he killed a 1-star or 2-star purple gold commander, although he would also get a reward, it would not be this much. Using 1,000-layer silk would be a waste, and the gains would not make up for the losses. Pop, pop, pop. Snap after snap, Yi Chen felt as if he had sunk into a swamp, and his movements became extremely sluggish. At the same time, the surrounding fire crystal beasts surrounded him, and their numbers kept increasing. Enjoy it! The Skeleton Ocean Emperor pulled away, not wanting to be surrounded. As for 1,000-layer silk, it could not bind a person for a long time. After all, it had not reached an indestructible level. Finally, Yi Chen got rid of the 1,000 layers of silk and looked around. There were at least 1,500 fire crystal beasts surrounding him from all directions. Could it be that I will die here? Yi Chen sucked in a deep breath. No, even if I die 10 times, I will carve out a bloody path. A deep darkness appeared in his pupils. At this moment, Yi Chen's mind was devoid of all distracting thoughts. All he could think of was kill, 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 kill anyone who stood in his way. Roar, roar, roar. Roars rang out incessantly as at least hundreds of fire crystal beasts charged at Yi Chen. Looking from afar, Yi Chen seemed to have fallen into the ball of fire crystal beasts, and nothing could be seen from the outside. He should be dead. But it won't be easy to get his storage ring and purple gold commander badge. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor thought to himself. Chi, 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 chi. There were so many fire crystal beasts that they formed a huge round ball. Being in the middle of it, Yi Chen had no way out. However, right at this moment, a swishing sound was heard as a black sword chi shot out through the cracks. The ball of fire crystal beasts seemed to have turned into a hedgehog, a black hedgehog. Chapter 1159. Back to before. Surrounded by hundreds of fire crystal beasts, Yi Chen waved the dragon's spring sword in vain. There were just too many fire crystal beasts. Although his sword chi could cut open the bodies of the fire crystal beasts at the front, it was useless. The fire crystal beasts at the back seized the opportunity and pounced on Yi Chen. Creak, creak. Violent metal grating sounds were heard. Yi Chen suffered several attacks in a short while. The fire crystal beast's sharp claws contained boundless power, which was comparable to a body-refining emperor. Blood flowed out from all 7 apertures of his. Yi Chen's body was almost twisted. If it was just one fire crystal beast attacking him, he would be able to resist it. But now there were several fire crystal beasts attacking him from all directions, which entangled and tore each other apart. How could Yi Chen's body withstand all of this? If it weren't for the iron blood silver blue set protecting him, his body might have exploded from this attack. Boom! It wasn't over yet. A petite, fire crystal beast rushed over and slammed its claw on his chest. With an earth-shattering force, Yi Chen's chest caved in, and a stream of blood spurted out from his mouth. Yi Chen was completely dumbfounded. He didn't know where he was or who he was. In his soul sea, raging waves surged. The soul and the body were inseparable. When the body was severely injured, the soul would be affected as well. At this moment, Yi Chen had fallen into an unprecedented crisis. The immortal sword's soul crazily vibrated, and a white-colored sword intent spread out, wanting to protect Yi Chen's soul and body. Meanwhile, the destruction sword's soul beside the immortal sword's soul also began to throb. Buzz, 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 buzz. The destruction sword's soul seemed to have awakened, and a black ink-like sword intent spread out, contending against the white-colored immortal sword intent. When the destruction sword intent and the immortal sword intent each occupied half of the battlefield, Yi Chen's soul sea became a black world and a white world. An angry roar was heard as Yi Chen's eyes turned black and white. The black one was like a black hole, immeasurably deep and filled with killing intent, while the white one was like a holy light, ancient and all-encompassing, containing the mentality of the world decaying and him being immortal. The dragon's spring sword was dyed black as Yi Chen waved it out. All of a sudden, the tiny fire crystal beast was blown away, but the sword chi's power did not dissipate yet. Cut the beasts behind it into pieces as well. Swish, swish, swish. With enough space, Yi Chen pushed his dragon spring sword's speed to its limit. His whole body was wrapped in a black light ball, and in the next second black sword chi spread out in all directions. The ink-like black sword chi not only landed on the bodies of the fire crystal beasts, but also leaked out through the gaps between their bodies. All of a sudden, hundreds of fire crystal beasts formed a round ball with black sword chi shooting out in all directions, making it look like a huge black hedgehog. It was a breathtaking scene. Chi. From far away, Skeleton Ocean Emperor saw the situation and fiercely squinted his eyes. Being surrounded by hundreds of fire crystal beasts, even he would have to use all his strength to kill his way out. After all, an encirclement was different from an ordinary encirclement. An ordinary encirclement would always have a weak point, and he would be able to kill his way out. However, an encirclement didn't have any weak point. This chi of destruction? Its 7th step destruction sword intent. Skeleton Ocean Emperor's heart sank. The 7th step destruction sword intent was equivalent to an ordinary 8th step sword intent. There was a huge gap between the 7th and 8th step sword intent, and countless people were stuck at this point. However, once the sword intent reached the 8th step, it would produce a protective sword intent. The might of an 8th step protective sword intent was not inferior to a peak 6th step spirit body. A life and death king sword intent or martial will would reach the 8th step. Not to mention anything else, just the defensive power of a life and death king soul would become much stronger. It should be known that the defensive will could not only protect the body, but also the soul. Before cultivating Soul Ring, the reason why Yi Chen's soul defense was so strong was also related to the immortal sword intent. However, the destruction sword intent was different from the immortal sword intent. The latter focused on defense, while the former focused on slaughter, containing the essence of destruction. By relying on the 7th step destruction sword intent, Yi Chen's battle power increased tenfold, finally crossing the threshold of peak battle emperor and reaching the low-level battle emperor realm. The destruction sword intent has finally reached the 7th step. Yi Chen woke up and rejoiced inwardly. The destruction sword intent and the immortal sword intent were both supreme sword intent. If it was just one of them, it would be very hard to improve. Only when two supreme sword intents were at the same level could they resonate and complement each other. Although in terms of power, the 7th rank destruction sword intent was equivalent to the ordinary 8th rank sword intent. Apart from the power, the other effects of the 7th rank destruction sword intent were not something an ordinary 8th rank sword intent could compare with. For example, some fire crystal beasts that had been cut in half couldn't recover no matter how hard they tried. With the immortal sword intent for defense and the destruction sword intent for offense, Yi Chen was flawless. I really have to thank you. Sensing the presence of the skeleton ocean emperor with his soul power, Yi Chen sneered. Humph, kid, so what if your destruction sword intent has reached the 7th step? In terms of power, you are still weaker than me. The skeleton ocean emperor's biggest source of confidence was the mid-level emperor armor on his body. In terms of defense, it was much stronger than a mid-level heavenly king armor. Yi Chen's attack power might be comparable to his, but his defense was definitely not as good. Really? Swoosh. Yi Chen soared into the sky, twisting and turning. The surrounding fire crystal beasts couldn't touch him at all. Raising the dragon spring sword, Yi Chen swept a black sword chi at the skeleton ocean emperor. Under the influence of the 7th step destruction sword intent, the sword chi turned black, emitting boundless black light, as if there was a black sun inside the sword chi. Break! The skeleton ocean emperor was not afraid of Yi Chen. He struck down with his spear, also using his ultimate attack. Rumble! A black and blue light ball exploded, and the fire crystal beasts were blown away. The battle between the two was no longer something ordinary fire crystal beasts could interfere with. Swoosh! Skeleton Ocean Monarch looked down and saw a strand of black sword chi on his chest. This strand of black sword chi was like a black snake, swimming around Skeleton Ocean Monarch's body. It was very hard to get rid of it, indeed worthy of being the 7th step destruction sword intent. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor was not surprised. The destruction sword intent was a supreme sword intent, and it naturally had aspects that ordinary sword intents couldn't reach. He couldn't help but sigh, feeling that Yi Chen was really lucky. The supreme sword intent wasn't something that ordinary people could comprehend, and it needed an opportunity. Apart from that, the supreme sword intent was much harder to improve than other sword intents, 10 times harder than ordinary sword intents. He wondered how Yi Chen had improved it to the 7th step. Yi Chen's power made the Skeleton Ocean Emperor feel that he was a disaster. When he grew up, he didn't know how many powerful warriors of the Yiksha race would die in his hands. The Yiksha Zhen Yuan burst forth along with the martial will, and the Skeleton Ocean Emperor forcefully forced out the little black snake sword chi. With a ripping sound, the little black snake sword chi tore through the air and left, but it soon returned as if it had its eyes on the Skeleton Ocean Emperor. With a cold snort, the Skeleton Ocean Emperor destroyed the sword chi with one finger. This kid is not easy to deal with. Let's leave the desolate planet first. The Skeleton Ocean Emperor didn't want to continue fighting with Yi Chen. This was the desolate planet, not the outside world. It would be hard to escape. If he fought with Yi Chen, he would be surrounded by thousands of fire crystal beasts. Even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would still die. He wouldn't treat his life as a joke. Flapping his wings, the Skeleton Ocean Emperor's speed was pushed to the limit. With a flash of blue light, he disappeared without a trace. You sure run fast. Yi Chen's speed was much slower than the Skeleton Ocean Emperor's, so he couldn't chase. Right now, his plan was to leave this planet. He had a feeling that it would be very difficult to escape. This was just the beginning. The Dark Dragon Emperor's battle prowess was heaven-defying. There were already 18 small, fire crystal beasts around him, but they still couldn't do anything to him. Instead, they were defeated. I don't want to play with you anymore. Die. A huge black dragon claw appeared, and the dark dragon emperor clawed at one of the small fire crystal beasts. Bang! This small fire crystal beast was smashed into pieces, unable to recover. In a short while, most of the 18 small fire crystal beasts were killed by the dark dragon emperor. The dark dragon emperor, who had used his killing move, was not someone the small fire crystal beasts could fight against. However, at this moment, the dark dragon emperor was surrounded by thousands of normal fire crystal beasts. When the small fire crystal beasts couldn't fight against the dark dragon emperor, a large number of normal fire crystal beasts pounced over. With their simple intelligence, they didn't know what fear was. The only thing leading them was to kill all the flesh and blood life on Mars desolate. Awesome, haha! As a titled monarch, the Dark Dragon Emperor had formed the Sky Demon Mark. In his human form, he was stronger and more monstrous than in his black dragon form. Every move he made had heaven-defying battle prowess. With a casual wave of his claw, more than 10 normal fire crystal beasts were crushed. Dark Dragon Explosion. Suddenly, the Dark Dragon Emperor spread his limbs, and a deep darkness spread out from his body. With a boom, black light exploded, and countless normal fire crystal beasts were shattered and scattered everywhere. Roar! Seeing that the Dark Dragon Emperor was on a killing spree, a deafening roar rang out, and the entire barren planet shook slightly. A golden red flowing light appeared in front of the Dark Dragon Emperor at a terrifying speed. Fire Crystal Beast Emperor? Normal fire crystal beasts were normal fire crystal beasts, and the small fire crystal beasts were beast kings. This golden red fire crystal beast was even smaller. It was only 1 meter tall and 3 meters long, about the size of a tiger. If there were no surprises, this golden red fire crystal beast should be a beast emperor among the fire crystal beasts. Come! The Dark Dragon Emperor wasn't afraid at all and fought with the Fire Crystal Beast Emperor. An earth-shattering roar rang out from another direction. This is? Yi Chen hesitated. Swoosh. At this moment, the Skeleton Ocean Emperor ran back in a sorry state. His body was covered in blood, and he completely ignored Yi Chen's existence and flew toward the depths of Mars desolate. Yi Chen didn't attack the Skeleton Ocean Emperor. In his soul force, he sensed a small, golden-red fire crystal beast chasing after the Skeleton Ocean Emperor. A powerful aura surged, and it was extraordinarily terrifying. Shwa, the golden-red fire crystal beast, looked at Yi Chen with killing intent. Not good. Just like the Skeleton Ocean Emperor, Yi Chen turned and ran. He was sure that his defense wouldn't be able to block a single attack from the golden red fire crystal beast.